A very warm good morning, all, to this best practice meet BPM 2023 Sub Summit dedicated to research and academia, being organized by DSCI, Data Security Council of India, in collaboration with IIIT Bangalore. This year's BPM Sub Summit is focused towards emerging technologies, security challenges, and opportunities. We most cordially welcome you all. I would like to call upon Dr. Sarabjit, Associate Director, Research, National Center of Excellence, DSCI, Data Security Council of India, to please come on the dais and deliver the welcome address.
Thank you so much, Jitin. Yeah, this is my great pride in welcoming you all. I welcome all the speakers and all the participants who have spared their precious time for this good cause of having a move towards better cybersecurity preparedness and resilience in the coming span of time. I welcome you all. This is a great opportunity, and at the outset only, I would like to first of all thank the generous endeavor of our CEO, Data Security Council of India, Mr. Vinayak Godse. It's whose vision, whose mission, whose zeal, which have led a way for this sub-summit to become a materialized and a successful event. At the same moment, I would like to thank Professor Das, Director IIITB, for not only letting us host, but also giving us eminent support throughout, and for his esteemed presence also at the same moment for the event. We all know that new technologies are coming. They are making way into this cyber security realm, and the digital platform and the space is expanding like anything at an exponential pace, I must say. New technologies are coming, we can name them up. Let it be AI, proliferating more in different forms like generative AI, now chat GPT, and yet people are wondering what are the ways it is going to manifest it is going to affect us, and how we can leverage it all together. Then you talk about IoT, Internet of Things. We do have 5G technology. With respect to the bandwidth, with respect to the capability and reliability, more number of gadgets and devices are going to make way into our lives. And definitely, when we'll have more devices, more expansion of the digital platform affecting us in different ways would be a thing to see for us all. Irrespective of the fact who we are, what is our work area, where we do dwell on, digital technology has made a way into our life. We all are affected in one way or the other. Means I have seen people saying, oh, we are not cyber savvy. What we have to do with this? Why we have to have this enlightenment, awareness? Everybody, whosoever is having a small gadget that we call as a mobile phone, smart mobile phone in a hand, and is leveraging, manifesting the facility of it, I can say, are part of this digital platform. They have a role to play, but other stakeholders, let me talk about, have bigger role to play. So this sub-summit is dedicated to research and academia. Whenever we talk about innovation, whenever we talk about better cybersecurity preparedness, our eyes get focused, glued on research, academia, industry, research labs, efforts in different forms altogether, whereby we have a far-sighted view, a far-sighted approach, a key zeal to have innovation, to leverage technologies, to have better readiness. So in this sub-summit, we are going to unfold the technologies which have made their way into the existence, which are yet going to come, how we can take advantage of it, what are the threats posed by it, how we can avoid them. Honorable Prime Minister has also said, tech ed. The coming decade is a decade of technology. How we can leverage it is the key to the success. So, not taking much time, I would just like to call on the dais Honorable Director Dr. Das to please come and deliver the inaugural address and few words of exchange of wisdom from his side. So blessed that you're here.
Thank you, Dr. Savarjit Kaur, for your kind invitation and also the kind words. So nice of you. And also the thanks to the DSCI CEO, Dr. Godse, for hosting this event at here. And my friend, Dr. Sarath Babu of the CDAC, who has been one of the pillar and being in the CDAC, also later on in the sets, in the security sets in the department in Chennai, and who heads a lot of research. And Dr. Lakshmi from CDAC is here, so nice to see Dr. Rajan and Dr. Das from Cisco, and all those people from different companies, and my friends and the participants of this event. So let me quickly come to the topic of data security. I have nothing to say about this because the data you know well and how important it is, and the security also you know very well how important it is. But let me quickly bring in that aspects that how to look at it from security or data point of view. If you look at I always say to my people in the research labs and all, data is only in the 3 states. You'll be really surprised. Only 3 states. Those 3 states I call 3C. C means the ABC. So C stands for the C for. So 3 C's. The first C is the conservation of information, the storage. If you look at that, then the security will be much more clearer, where I should make it secure. Storage means there are different types of storage. No doubt there is a, you call it at a hard disk, cloud, edge computing, there is a storage. There is a RAM, there is a flash memories. And in that there is a hardware and there is a software. So this conservation of information, the first C, if you look at the data, can be attacked any of the states. And it can be secured, it may not be secured. And the second C is computation. So what we do from this storage or the data coming in, I give a command, or any applications gives a command for the computation. That AI ML we talk so much, what it does, these are the algorithms. These algorithms calls those data from the storage or from the different memories and start doing the computation. And in the CPU or GPU, I can enter, because the data may not be secured if it is not homomorphic and all, then I can go there and do the all kind of things, manipulating it and all. So there is a chances of manipulation. Security attack can happen there. So that is the second C. What is the third C? The third C is the communication. That means when I am communicating, so I have IoT devices everywhere. So how many IoT devices will be there? It is very simple calculation. One of my students told me, when I was taking classes in one of the Samsung person who was on job as an MTech students in IIIT Bangalore, I asked him that all these industries are talking so much of IoT. Tell me how many IoT devices will be there next 10 years. He said me 700 billion. Now you must be thinking such a big number. You have not reached to that number yet. He made a very simple calculation. Sir, smart home, smart car, smart office, smart everywhere. And if I look at a city, there are, if I per person, if I take 150 IoT devices, car has 20 IoT devices, office has a 20, 30, kitchen has, home has a 40, 50, like that everywhere IoT devices. So it is 150 in a city, and village, smart agriculture, smart this, smart that, so 50. So 150 plus 50 divided by 2 is 100 per person. And we have a 7 billion population. And 7 billion into 100 is 700 billion. Very simple calculation he told me. But look at the shocker he gave it to me. The shock is, in this 7 billion, means if I add up all the mobile phones, all the laptops, we have 7 billion say, my network is so slow. And so much of security threats. With 7 billion, if you total now. And if I go on this elevated highway, if I call my father, I start here in the toll, by reaching I have a 2 times call drop. So these are the challenges I have now in 4G. Think about 700 billion devices coming in, and with the security threat, what will happen to us? So the communication is the third C. If you look at, there is a huge possibility because of the wireless communications, various types of communications, and there are intermediate encryption, decryption for the transmissions. There is everywhere there is a threat. Starting from IoT devices, we are not able to control 7 billion devices now, so many things are happening. If 700 billion comes in 10 years with those calculations, then what will happen to us? So I am really, really grateful to DSCI and all of you that you are thinking on a research problems. There are tons of research problems. And IIIT Bangalore is one of the leading in the research. We have security professors in the working. Those who are doing a lot of research. I will take only 60 seconds with his permission. That if you go 2 floors below this floor, there is a lab called MOSIP Experience Center, Modular Open Source Identity Platform. Yesterday, Bill Gates tweeted about this project of IIIT Bangalore. I was a bit surprised. He tweeted, if you look at his tweet yesterday, he has said that in the world, digital identity, if it has to be proliferated, then MOSIP is the leading project and product for the world. MOSIP, Modular Open Source Identity Platform. So he visited us in the March 4th here in Bangalore. He saw the project and he was very happy. He whispered in my ears that he will give some millions of dollars to take it forward. But anyhow, getting his attention and getting his remarks it is commendable. But why I am talking about that project? Because we have already rolling out in 11 countries equivalent of Aadhaar, digital identity called MOSIP, which is open source. Now I am coming to that point. Why I am talking about that project? It is a completely open source, like your Android or Linux you can download. This is the largest open source product from India to the world successfully working. 16 lakhs lines of code. But the concern is, my worry is that the security. So such an identity is such an important, look at Aadhaar. For 1 second you think Aadhaar is not there in India, we will completely collapse as business is concerned. Everything is concerned will collapse. Now, which we are proud of, banking, finance, everything. So we are giving now to the countries after countries, now 11 countries signed up already MOU that is rolling out, but security, privacy is a huge concern to us. We are doing a lot of research how to make it highly secure, even though it is open source, like Android or Linux. And for that only, I request you, whenever you have time, please go and see that product and download and play with it. If there is any security kind of concerns, you can inform us. That will be great contribution from nation. This is from India, actually. We always proudly say, if India has given to the world any open source product, largest open source product, this is the one, till today. So thank you again, inviting me. I took for your science. So however, before I leave, I always say to remember the 3 C's. The 3 C's are the fundamental. The conservation, computation, and communication. Information is only one of these C's, nowhere else. And if there are, each C has hundreds of areas, each C. So if you can attack only one area out of these C's, then we'll be really humbled to receive that and take it further. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Dal. I'll just request your presence just over in. Yeah, truly obliged with the presence of Professor Das. He has fetched time from his busy schedule for this great encouragement and shared the proliferating wisdom in this regard. Definitely, it's a need of ours, as I said. So Data Security Council of India is basically doing a spearheading task in this field of cybersecurity from one session to the other. DPDP Act that has come, DCI has a good role to play in contributing somewhere towards that, in doing analysis and all. And we are conducting various sessions. Cyber Shiksha is one plan whereby the female are treated, basically they are brought to the level whereby they can easily engage into the jobs. And those women who have been on break can have better technology upliftment and can make their ways towards a contributing entity towards this cybersecurity platform. Then we do have various other programs like rapid responder course as a measure towards the ransomware attack preparedness. We have National Center of Excellence, a joint initiative of Data Security Council of India and Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. We under that conduct the startup incubation, mentorship, and research incentivization. Both of these are the endeavors again to help us have innovative, out of the box security solutions to leverage the better preparedness and readiness to handle the threats and overcome the attacks and the vulnerabilities. So there's a very unique endeavor that we have undertaken, research incentivization and productization leading towards commercialization. Research incentivization, we all research institutions carry out, but it is very important to take that exhaustive efforts being put forth by researchers to the next level, to convert them into a product which has that shape and form. There are various things required. You have to have a better interface, you need to add some facilities and features so that it can be now in a form of a product which can be easily used by masses. So this is one initiative. Industries, if they come forth with some use cases, we do have a co-creation activities. These are all initiatives probably taking a few steps towards ensuring that as an Indian, as a nation, we should have a self-reliant products. We should have a resilient, better cybersecurity preparedness and readiness to handle such threats. And we should not let the businesses, organizations, services disrupt. We should not let it go on a halt. Let that continuity be maintained. Let us have a good cyber experience for one and all. So good words by Professor Das. I think we all can relate to that. So thank you so much. With this inaugural session, let's move towards the further sessions to move on. Thank you all once again for participating in today's sub-summit dedicated to research and academia. Highly obliged for your presence.
Now we are proceeding towards the first session of the Research and Academia Sub-Summit, which is the current state of cybersecurity research landscape, assuring technologies and innovation. I would like to invite on the stage the speakers for the first session, who are Dr. Pradeepti, Assistant Professor at C.R. Rao Advanced Institute of Mathematics, Statistics and Computer Science, Malini Rao, Cybersecurity Expert, Dr. KPM Das, National Cyber Security Officer at Cisco. This session would be moderated by Dr. Sarabjit, DSCI Associate Director Research.
Welcome all the panelists. And to commence the first session, I would just request our speakers to give a kind and a small brief introduction of theirs, their little expertise in the area, so that we can all be well connected to that.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pradeepti. I have a PhD in cybersecurity with machine learning, and have been working in C.R. Rao Advanced Institute for Research, which is located in University of Hyderabad campus for the past 5 years. And my expertise is in network security, mobile security, and basically I like to work on seeing where all artificial intelligence and machine learning can be applied to cybersecurity problems. So I'd like to see where, whenever there are some problems or issues in security, how we can overcome them using some AI or ML techniques. So this is my domain.
Hi everyone, good morning. I am Malini Rao and I have almost 20 years of experience in cybersecurity, and I have worked with most of the IT services organizations as well as Big Fours. And currently I'm working with a startup and I'm in the transition basically. The last organization that I worked with is Wipro, and I was heading the cybersecurity engineering and operations there. And I have worked on quite a few AI and ML projects. Recently, I've also launched my book on AI and ML in cybersecurity. And I'm quite interested and keen to talk on this topic because it's more on the research and the emerging technologies. So yeah, thanks to DSCI for giving this opportunity.
Oh, we are inducted again for your presence.
Thank you. Delight to be here. I've always heard about IIIT Bangalore, and to be invited is something I'm really glad to be here. Second, I'm not a doctor. I have done no PhD, right? I'm a practitioner, right? So I must go home and say that, I was introduced as Dr. KPM Das. But there is this unfulfilled ambition to do something. Hopefully, I retire next year and maybe sign up, go back to my alma mater, Indian Institute of Science, Department of Computer Science, where I did my ME about 30 years back, more than 34 years back. Just to give a quick background, I come from a military background fundamentally, right? So I joined the NDA at the age of 15, National Defense Academy, did 29 years, and then moved into industry where I am now for 20 years. Most of my work has been in IT services. I was with Mindtree before I joined Cisco 14 years back. I'm with Cisco now. I want to leave a thought here because, this is an evolving space. I began life in cyber in 1998 when it used to be called information warfare. There was nothing called cyber warfare. There was no cyber mention other than the computer manufacturer called Cyber Data Corporation, CDC, which manufactured big machines. And those days, information warfare was was a very offensive concept because you always believed you were well defended. That was the belief, whether right or wrong. So information warfare was offensive, and that's an area where I've done some practitioners' work, no research of that kind. And then it moved on, then we moved to cognitive warfare, now you have cyber warfare, and they are all kind of now getting connected into something which has become a real monster, to draw an analogy, at the national level, right? My area of interest is largely around threat intelligence. I work internally with a team called Talos, if any of you have heard of it. And the challenge that I see at a national level is, to my mind, there is nothing called a nation state attack anymore. It is all through adjacent channels like, companies, schools, colleges. You don't know which threat vector is going to carry something which will debilitate your critical infrastructure. So an area where I'm interested really, and I hope to work in the next 2 years, is an attribution of cyber attacks. Because no international law has been able to solve this problem. It's all very well to have circumstantial evidence, but we still haven't reached the stage where you can connect all the dots and say, it's proved, right? So that's an area of interest, and I hope to work in this area. Thank you.
Yeah. So we are having definitely the people who are having expertise in their own area and quite relevant to the theme as well again. So the theme as is current state of cyber security research landscape, ushering technologies and innovation. Definitely new technologies and how are they making waves and all. So the panel is all about this. So now I would be out. We are more to listen from your expertise. So Dr. Pradipti, put some light where and how you feel the current landscape is molding, what it is having all about. Yeah, please.
I am working on AI/ML for cybersecurity, and I feel that currently this rush towards generative AI, responsible AI, and all. And in responsible AI, we have these 4 to 5 subtopics like fairness in AI, explainability in AI, interpretability, and safety and privacy in AI. So on these topics, I feel that the focus should be on the explainable AI part, where because interpretability is a problem, and interpretability and explainability, actually if the algorithm which we are applying on a cybersecurity problem, if it is not having good explainability, then it is directly reflecting on the trust that people have on implementing that algorithm in a real-time situation. So to build that trust, explainability is being brought in, and for that many algorithms are being used, and I feel that this is where the future topics of research should be working on, and also the safety in using AI ML, because we have all extensively used, or we are telling that for any and every problem AI is the solution, but tomorrow when it is really applied in a real-time situation, how far is that system able to be robust against any kind of attack that it might be subjected to, which is another topic that I'm working on, which is adversarial machine learning. So how can we safeguard the ML model against adversarial attack? Because in our effort to secure the system, we are introducing a new attack surface, which is the ML itself, where the data and the model, how are we going to secure it? So there are some black box and white box attacks again in this scenario, which are uh, currently being researched, and a very interesting topic. I feel that is also a very good topic. And another thing is privacy in AI also. Because of this large language models and these chat GPT, etc., a lot of privacy invasion. Like people have gone ahead and they're using it left, right, and center for any and everything. But what is the impact on security and privacy is what people are suddenly waking up to, and it is becoming a good research topic also to study. So these are some of the topics which I felt. And also in encryption related things, like whenever data is stored in cloud, when it's stored in any encrypted fashion, so if I want to do some analytics on it, so nowadays these privacy preserving machine learning algorithms are being used. And but then if I encrypt the data and if I try to do analytics on it, will the accuracy or the results I get be the same than working on this encrypted data and unencrypted data, vice versa? How do I compare? Is it going to be the same? What effect is it going to have is something people are researching on, and it is really interesting topic, that also I feel. So these are some of the topics that responsible AI, like Microsoft and IBM have a very good work they are developing on these topics, and research papers are only coming up in these responsible AI and safety and privacy topics of AI/ML. So this is what I feel.
Yeah, so we rightly said that these ushering technologies like adversarial machine learning attacks, we all are saying we are having AI, ML for everything. Like you have, you name a system, you name a use case, you will find AI, ML finding its way into that. But how safe is that algorithm itself? Does that need some security, a robustness check? So Dr. Pradeepti is extensively working, and they have one incentivized project. Also recently they have been working on with DSCI only, whereby they're working on adversarial machine learning attacks, how to ensure that AI/ML model itself is safe. True, like too much of AI, but AI also vulnerable
I
or
think
safe or
I'll
not.
take this
And
opportunity to thank DSCI for funding, because for a researcher, especially from some academia or research institute, we need funding agencies to fund us so that we can work in any research topic. So DSCI has funded my research problem on adversarial machine learning, which I'm currently working on. So which is leading to some really good results also. So thank you.
our effort has been so good. Now, let me tell you that when we connected for productization and commercialization, this is what exercise we undertake, that we really wish that researchers are putting exhaustive efforts. It should be taken to the next level whereby industry can easily embrace them. Industry is also looking for some efforts on those scenarios. If we are just bridging that up, it was really a different experience that we have faced, and that is for good on positive side, that they were ready to embrace them all. So I think this is what we all should put our efforts on, the definitely research, how we can leverage it, and our industry, how it can take advantage of that. So moving to Ms. Malini.
Yeah, so AIML is also one of my favorite topics, but yeah, I would also like to add more about the Web3 and metaverse technology that is picking up now. It is there for quite some time. Even AIML is not new, it is there since 1955. But now it has picked up because of Chat GPT, the generative AI has come up. I would also like to speak about Web3 and metaverse, which is now picking up more because more and more organizations are leveraging the blockchain, a decentralized way of the internet, which was there till now, which was Web 1 and Web 2. Now, because of the 5G technology and improvement in the way we are looking at the content, most earlier we were all looking at mobile phones, it was all 2D content. Now everybody wants 3D, everybody wants video, they want better experience of their how they browse in the internet. So Web3 has picked up quite a bit. Metaverse is something related to Web3. They both complement to each other. Additionally, AI/ML also comes into picture here because they all work using AI/ML technology. And then again, IoT comes into picture here because I want to talk about IoT because IoT devices are something which is also requires security because they are also working using Web3, using the AI technology. They are also connected devices. So that is also something which is very interesting topic, which is right now picking up because it was there for quite some time because I started working on IoT in 2018 itself, but it picked up really quick now. And the security of these IoT devices is also very important. Additionally, I would like to talk about something really new technology that has now come up as platform engineering, which is till now we were all talking about DevSecOps. Everybody will say, I am DevSecOps engineer, DevSecOps this, DevSecOps that. But it was not working in a manner it should have worked because everybody wants to have the pipeline and secure the application security pipeline. But it did not work out in that manner that it should have because there were always confusion. Where is the security testing is happening? Where is the SAST? Where is DAST is happening? But now the new terminology and the new technology, I would say, it's the way the people are working is platform engineering. That is where you bring a IDP into picture and making an IDP which is a centralized platform where all the engineers will come into picture, the developers, the SRE engineers, the DevOps engineers, they all will come into the whole platform and they will work in a collaborative manner that will help to deliver the product faster and in a secure manner. So that is also something which is quite an right now being used across the industry, including in the cloud security. So that is something which I wanted to highlight as well. But yes, these all four technologies which I talked about, IoT, Metaverse, Web3, AI, ML, they are all are interconnected. And in cyber security, I would say for past 5 years, the AI ML impact has increased. If you see most of the solutions now will say, my solution is AI enabled. Now, if you see since generative AI has come up, they will say my solution is Chat GPT. We are using Chat GPT to enhance our solutions. Because recently I got many of the vendors that I was working with, I got updates from them that now we are Chat GPT compliant. Now we have Chat GPT APIs enabled. So that is something which is now new. And as Dr. Praniti said, that it is more on now securing the AI, the model security, the adversarial attacks. How have we made our model robust? And across the entire AI ML applications that we have, how are we making sure that the application itself is robust, making sure the vulnerability assessment is done properly? And do we have all the coming from cyber defense perspective, do we have all the SIEM use cases for the AI ML kind of attacks that we are seeing, the adversarial attacks? That also needs to be enhanced. So I would say these are some things which really is a point to talk about and delve deeper into it.
Yeah. So, yeah, Mr. KVM Das, please.
So let me take the benefit of not being a researcher and let me throw the problem space at people. Okay. So if you are a researcher and you wanting to know which direction you want to go, let me give you a subset of problems that is keeping me awake in my role today. Okay. And we know that this problem solution cycle is always a challenge for the cyber defender, because every time you come up with something you think is smart, next morning you have a new threat vector appearing in a different form, right? So this cycle, I think, is very, in a philosophical sense, this will remain, this will not change, right? So you will be 9 out of 10 as practitioners, you will be reacting most of the time. You will not be acting, you will be reacting. But here are some thoughts on what are the problems that today I, as a practitioner, in possibly the largest network company in the world, what we are facing. One is, this whole concept of data protection and data privacy, which we now have an act, Indian Act, but I think the forerunner was the GDPR. if you look at it, it places so much of responsibility on, data principals, data fiduciaries, data owners, all of them, that we still haven't reached the stage where you can say you have reached steady state. That means somebody has solved this problem. The expectations from regulations are so high that it'll be interesting to learn from people who are implementing them, whether they have been able to meet those very high standards that have been set. I'll give you an example. The director mentioned it about the 3 C's. And if you remember, one of them was about conservation of data. And the challenge today is there is no way that the data life cycle is under the control of, satisfactorily under the control of a CISO or a CIO. If the board asks the question saying that I hope the life cycle of data is as regulated in this country, whichever country you're operating in, it's a question mark. I don't think anyone can answer that. The second problem is about malware on networks. So you have the 7-layer, you have the physical, then you have the network, and go up to the application, right? The problem today is almost all of malware, and this happened in the recent 3, 4, 5 years, is now encrypted. Yeah? So at the physical level and at the network level, it is such a challenge to figure out and de-layer, from the quality of service. How do you figure out what is malware, what is not malware? It's become a big challenge. And the good news is that AI and ML have arrived on the scene, partly. We don't know how much it can do. But there are today a lot of companies which are using metadata analysis, using these neural network models, and fourth order neural networks and so on, to arrive at you need to make quick conclusions. You see, things are moving at the speed of light on the network. You can't do DPI, you can't do deep packet inspection. You can do it in probably military networks. You can't do it in commercial networks. You can't do it on the internet. So what do? So you then have these methods which are now coming in. Again, it's work in progress. Just give me a moment. Yeah, it's still work in progress and there's still no solution, but there is now clearly a trend towards increasing use of AI, ML, neural networks to figure out what kind of malware it is, who the threat actors, and so on and so forth. The second is around devices. So if you look at a smart city like Bangalore, we have 100 smart cities as per the Indian thing, right? I don't know how many have been rolled out, should be majority of them. Now, the way the projects are implemented, you have a bunch of people who provide you the IoT devices, the sensors and all of that stuff. Then you have people who provide you all the APIs and the middleware that is required. And then you have the heavy lifting done by the network companies and the data center people and storage people. The problem today is, while each of them operate within certain globally accepted standards and practices, there is no universal view of something like a smart city or an electric grid or a transportation metro network. Because the diversity of vendors is so much, it is such a challenge. So you now have a problem that you need to look at APIs, you need to look at north-south, east-west communications and so on very differently. And these are problems that are not going to be solved by vendors. Okay, don't expect Cisco and others to solve it. The problem will have to be solved by the system integrator who is bringing them all together. So that's a big challenge that we are facing at this point of time. And I don't know how many of you are working in the IoT space. Of all the product spaces that today exist, the one where there is maximum fragmentation of standards is in IoT. Sensors, devices, all of them. There are standards, but they are very, very fragmented, each one very different from the other. So for them to talk amongst each other, it's a big challenge. The next one I want to talk about is the type of attacks that we have now started seeing. There was a time when there were traditional threat vectors which we could ring fence and handle. Today, the whole battle has moved into random access memories. So this whole address space in which your operating system is running, your kernel is running, all of that is now requiring a lot of research work to see how you can randomize the address spaces. How do you recognize an image or a part of an image that has been tampered with after it's been verified? So that is the interesting problem, right? At the time of when you're getting it into production and the system comes on, you've done validation and verification, all of that stuff. It gets into your memory, and that is where all these smart, malicious actors are. So the whole battle frontier is now moved to a different level, and this is another problem that we are now facing. That a fully verified operating system image is now under attack. And that is through remote actors who are tampering with functions and libraries while they're in the main memory. Thank you.
Yeah, so quite the wisdomful information, and we have been looking forth definitely, and I think many people out here could relate to that and can leverage it and can take advantage of this definitely. Rightfully talked about like how the AI ML is making some way into malware analysis and all that, and how heterogeneous IoT products need to be integrated and sophistication of that. And moving towards the kind of attacks, the polymorphic malwares, like which are changing even codes and affecting in different ways on different instances. So these are the things we have to now cater to, put efforts towards. And definitely through these sessions, there'll be various pointers, there'll be various pockets that we'll be able to identify where we can associate ourselves and we can take that forth towards so that some solutions and time can be developed to handle them effectively. Yeah, so this is what I was looking for. I mean, as a expert like Dr. Pradipti, you are AI ML person working into this. From your side, from your perspective, what are more challenges? What are more threats? What is the road ahead that you are able to see pertaining to this?
I feel there are a lot of challenges for applying AI/ML to security, especially suppose I was working on explainable AI, and what we came across was if we use some simple algorithms like decision trees or random forest, straightforward it is an explainable AI mechanism, so not much effort is required. But as people are using more of deep learning algorithms, explainability is inversely proportional to the number of hidden layers that the neural networks have. So it is a bottleneck there, that how far we can go with this explainability, because there are certain methods like deep focal algorithms where you are trying to scope down on the number of features which are present for doing your classification, so that you can restrict and you can actually bring in explainability into it. So here what we are doing is we are losing out on whatever features that are there. So there is still some trade-off in implementing explainable AI in real-time systems where you have innumerous number of features. And also in certain things which I was talking about, like privacy preserving machine learning algorithms, there are certain techniques where to hide or encrypt the data, actual encryption is not done, but some amount of noise is appended to the data so that the data doesn't resemble what it actually is. And still you can make out some details about it and try to classify it into some buckets. But this noise adding, which is called as differential privacy actually, which is also used by Microsoft for implementing it in the cloud for preserving of the privacy of data. Here also, accuracy is inversely proportional to the amount of noise you add to the data. So the more I try to hide the data, the more it is difficult for me to actually do machine learning. So this is again a challenge. So actually applying ML or AI is not a pill that is going to cure all the problems. Some amount of work has to be done on how on the data first of all, and understanding the algorithms, and only then we can actually implement it in real time. So that's what I feel like. I come across many people who, or many students who come and say that, I will apply deep learning, but really for your problem, is deep learning even required? Are you trying to, for cold, are we trying to go, small disease, are we trying to use a bigger pill? Like, is it really required? Do I really have to use that much of resource? Would a small decision tree itself suffice for that problem? So just because we have so much of access to like computational this thing resources, people are using big algorithms without even understanding it. So I feel like awareness has to be there about what are the algorithms, really what are the pros and cons of the algorithms. For my problem, is that algorithm really suitable, and am I using a saw to cut grass? I'm like, is it really required? Is what we should think about.
Very appropriate. Very correct. Like hiding and then yet moving ahead. Definitely a big challenge. How to ensure privacy, but yet making data available, because otherwise we say AI/ML is as good as the data set itself being fed to it. So how to do the balance, and then looking forward to the journey. Explainable AI, reliable AI, responsible AI. So many things are coming up. So what's the way ahead? So there are some challenges put forth. Let us see what's the way out and the moving ahead. Yes, Ms. Malini, from your side.
Yeah, so I would like to add in AIML also, if you see a couple of challenges are there, the data itself is the kind of data sources that you have. You have to make sure that you have the right data sources, because that itself is a challenge. Because while you are developing your AIML model, you have to make sure all the data sets are following the proper cleansing process, and the data which is being used where the model is being prepared, that itself is in the right data I have. Because if you choose wrong data set, the AIML model itself is not going to be right. Additionally, I would also talk about the robustness of the model, that itself needs to be made sure, because that can be challenged sometimes, because people will say, okay, I'm using deep learning, I'm using ML models. But are you actually creating a robust model, and are you testing it out, is what I was also saying initially, that you have to test it out and make sure that it is robust. So that could be sometimes a challenge while you are doing it. So that is something I wanted to highlight. Now, talking about the IoT devices, when it comes to IoT devices, which I was telling initially, there are certain challenges which I have seen while I was working. Like people will just go and use IoT devices as it is. They are not doing any proper testing. There is no vulnerability assessment done. There is firmware testing that needs to be done in IoT devices, which they will just go and use as it is, which will have a lot of vulnerabilities. The password is default password 1234. All that is as it is. They are using without any awareness. And when they come to know that there is some regulatory body which is coming and checking all this, then they will start doing reverse engineering, and they'll start saying that, okay, now I have to comply, and then they will start calling the security engineers for that. So it should be done. It's the security by design, privacy by design should be followed in IoT security. Then only you can make sure that all your devices, like initially one of the initial talk was there about 900 billion devices are being used now for IoT, right? So everything is smart now. So to make sure that they are robust, they are hardened, you have to make sure that these are taken care. Otherwise, it's a big challenge. People will just go and start using it, but hackers have it all open, and they will start coming into your devices.
Yeah.
And additionally, one more challenge I wanted to talk about the Web3 and metaverse is there is lot of identity related issues when it comes to metaverse, because metaverse is a virtual world where you are conducting your meetings, you are doing virtual training, you are playing games. So it's where you are actually having your digital identity of yours. So securing your digital identity becomes very critical, as same as your physical identity controls that you have. So that sometimes becomes a challenge, because people will just go take the access and start working and logging into metaverse. So securing your metaverse digital identity, there are multiple ways. There is blockchain, there is digital wallets, then there is NFTs where you can use it and secure your NFTs in the wallets. And of course, blockchain itself is a secure decentralized solution that you can use when it comes to metaverse security. So these are some of the challenges I have seen while I was working on these areas. So I would like to highlight that. And what kind of controls that we should have. Like I already said, you have to make it hardened, you have to make it robust. and everything is not AI/ML based. You can't just keep on saying that I have AI/ML based. You have to have other security controls also should be in place.
Yeah.
Additionally, one last point I want to add is sorry about that, about the zero trust, right? Zero trust is something uh, which I have implemented in past. You don't need to go from scratch. You don't need to define everything from scratch. Just check what controls you have in your environment. For example, if I already have solutions for cloud security, I already have CSPM, I have CASB, I have these all controls already in place. So I don't need to go and reinvent the whole wheel for zero trust and make sure that only the identity becomes the new perimeter, because now there is no perimeter security. It is identity is the new perimeter. So you have to you should look at your environment itself and then make sure that there is a zero trust security in place. So that's I wanted to add
Yeah.
there. Thank
So,
you.
Mr. KPM Nas, so your if final words towards the road ahead, or what?
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, I haven't done any serious research ever, but let me give you three other areas which is going to be an area for potential research in a place like IIIT. So one problem that we have, and this is more in the area of cybercrime and related forensics. So you have crime, and then you have enforcement agencies, then you have the legal process, and those are governed by the CRPC code and so on and so forth. Admissibility of digital evidence itself is going to be an area which, to my mind, is going to be a great area of research. There's been a recent instance, I don't know, any of you from Kerala would have heard about it, where somebody got a call, a video call, from somebody who he assumed to be a dear friend and who asked for money, okay? And it's never a happy ending, so the person gave the money and then all hell broke loose. It's been filed. I don't think anything is in the public domain on whether they've solved the problem. This is going to be increasing now. So your audio, video, your biometrics, all of them are going to have avatars, are going to have deep fakes. So this whole research around deep fake is something which eventually will lead to some kind of token of digital trust. This is an area of research, okay? It's an unsolved problem. And if there are people here who are interested, especially the younger researchers, I think this is an area where you can really leave a mark. This is going to be a problem of the future. The second problem that I see of the future is over-the-air security, right? We are more conversant with network security, a whole lot of other things, but over-the-air is an area where there is a lot of challenges. And a lot of it is in the physical space, right? Because radio waves are, can be manipulated. Any of you who studied electronic warfare, electronic intelligence, signal intelligence know that today deception, surprise, these are things on which advanced research is going on. So over the air, from a Wi-Fi point of view, 802.1x, right? There are big challenges because there's something called MAC address bypass. For those of you who know, that is actually a legitimate way to suppress MAC because many of the IoT devices have huge issues with MAC. That is being manipulated now by bad actors. And you are having places in the public domain, like your railway station, like your airports and so on, even institutions like this, where over the air is something which is the last thing on the mind of a CISO, right? There's a lot of research required there, and that's an area where I see where 802.1x is going to pay a lot of attention on. And now with, I think, 6G task force work is already commenced. And between each generation, the average is about 8 to 10 years. And this one likely is to be faster. There's a lot of research going on what is called ubiquitous communications, right? So this goes beyond the software-defined radio to something at the next level, where the band in which you operate is not going to be a constraint anymore. So I just thought I'll leave these three thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah. No, very appropriate. Because I have, before being into Data Security Council of India, I've been got an opportunity to work for Bureau of Police Research and Development, NCR and IC. There we were definitely dealing with the problem of deepfakes, not means text, audio, video. Your voice is not your voice. We used to say, what we have heard, I'll believe. What I've seen, I'll believe. But these days, all is changing. What you see, can you believe? So all sophisticated deepfakes you cannot trust on. So is saying, has he said so? So a lot more things, complete means era for the researcher, for industry R&D, for us all to dwell on to make it safe. But we all are here. So we have to ensure the safety of it. We all have to owe the responsibility individual in our own capacity. Thank you so much to the eminent panelists today. This was a wonderful session. We have carved out good things as a takeaway from this session, and I'm really, really thankful to you all. Thank you so much, Mr. KPM Das. Thank you, Ms. Malini. Thank you, Dr. Pradipti. Indebted for your presence. Thank you so much. Wonderful round of applause, please.
Now let's move towards the second session of today's knowledgeable deliberation. The theme is TechEd, an agenda for cybersecurity research. The speakers for this session are Mr. Natarajan from SETS Chennai, Ms. Lakshmi Ishwari, Center Head CDAC Hyderabad, Ms. Geeta Harry from Big Four EY, Ms. Mini TT from Dell. This session would be moderated by Dr. Natarajan.
So good morning all. So first of all, I thank DSCI for this wonderful opportunity, and thank for the first time I must declare this first time I'm moderating as well as a speaker. So kindly bear with the glitches. So okay, thank you. So thanks for the panel speakers, and as usual, start with the intro round. So myself, Dr. Natarajan, I'm working as a scientist at SETS Chennai. SETS is a Society for Electronic Transaction Security, which is under the Office of Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India. So the SETS is focused on cyber security research and translation research, and we work for various government agencies to implementing cyber security standards and technologies. So next.
Hello, everyone. Very good morning, and really humbled and honored to be here as part of the panel discussion by DSCI. My name is Geeta Hari. I've been in the space of cybersecurity for over 23 years now. I started off as a scientist in Indian telephone industries, and that is where I had an opportunity to work on cybersecurity, build some modules that were used in defense and army. And I could relate to KVM Das when he talked about the military background, and it gives so much of a pride and honor to be associated with something which you can contribute a little to the nation as well, right? So that gave me a passion to sustain a field in cybersecurity. From there, I moved on to Wipro Technologies, and that's where interactions with Malini, who was there in the earlier talk. I was in the customer-facing Wipro Technologies domain while she was handling for Wipro as an organization. So that is where I had opportunities to work across various domains in cyber itself, and multiple roles that I handled there, and recently transitioned to EY, and there's passion for cybersecurity is there, and that's where it's taking me to places. Innovation and platform leader is what I'm and my current responsibility there. It is giving me a lot of thoughtful ideas and new ideas when coming and attending summits like this. So thank you, DSCI, for giving this opportunity. And I'm hoping to take away a lot of useful nuggets from each of these sessions going forward.
So very good morning to all of you. First of all, let me thank DSCA and IIIT for enabling this knowledge sharing platform to all of us. I am Lakshmi Ishwari and I am presently heading CDAC Hyderabad operations. Let me give a background of myself. I started my career in the academic environment as a lecturer at NIT Warangal in the computer science department. For almost 2.5 years, I worked there. After that, I moved to CDAC, and for the past 23 years, I'm associated with the Center for Development of Advanced Computing, working from Hyderabad Center. So, in my 23 years of career, actually, like I worked in various R&D projects in the domain of cybersecurity. For some time, I was also into e-learning domain, but most of my research projects, like most of our work at CDAC is towards the applied research. As an outcome, we have to deliver some solutions. So that is one of the focus. And also I was a part of various skilling activities, education and training and other things like that. So coming to the cybersecurity research, my focus was the endpoint security. And we have built the various solutions like USB Pratirod, application whitelisting solutions. Then also in the mobile domain, we have mKavach. So, and other, which I will try to talk about in detail in the later interaction. Also, like for the past 4 to 5 years, we are also into blockchain domain, where we have built some of the interesting applications for land records, and then smartphone-based voting is another initiative which is successfully implemented. A dry run was carried out. So, and presently we are involved in the national blockchain framework development. So these are some of the efforts, and also we are doing pretty good work in IoT domain in terms of coming out with the procedures for evaluating the IoT device and other things like that. So we'll discuss more about the details.
Hello, good morning everyone. I'm Mini TT. Currently I'm working with Dell Technologies, and my current portfolio of work includes security which is close to the hardware security, that is what I would say, on the servers in the data center domain. That's what my work interest is. And apart from that, I'm also a student. I'm studying. I'm a PhD student with who is doing research into the embedded system security, hardware security, IoT security, device lifecycle security. That's the kind of topics which I'm looking at for the academic research side of it. So I'm here both as an industry person as well as an academic person. And with respect to my career, I had started with developing military systems. So in fact, I started with security, the real, not the cyber security per se, but for our Government of India defense, for our army. I was doing fire control systems for the military command and control system. That is where I started. So sometime, somewhere, I think it's there, that cyber security is there in me. That's what I realized when I picked up cyber security as a mainstream career. In the last 6-7 years, that's what I'm doing, cyber security as a mainstream. Till then, I was into embedded system was my primary focus area all the time. And that's what it got into, to do that hardware enablers for security, hardware supported security, those kind of topics. And with respect to innovations, okay, I hold a good portfolio in my opinion about patents, publications, and certifications, and those kind of items. So that's what I am. So let us talk about topics which are close to hardware, how the hardware enables security. That's what is focused. Thank you.
Thank you all this panel. It's a very interesting panel. We have a collective member of people from different background and different dimension. So to begin with the title Tech8 as an agenda for cyber security. So technology enabled world, where technology enabled society. So that everybody been focusing on. So we as a computer scientist, we always believe there is a better world out there. So this an technology is an ever evolving field where the cyberspace growing day to day, and there are more sophistications, more human-centric technologies been evolving. So whatever the there is a two different phases I look at. There are phases where we move to the uniformity, where you look at we've been moving towards uniformity at certain stages. Now we've been looking into the customization. For example, so let's say look at these chairs. Here it's uniform. No, there is a, but as we as a human, we have our own preferences, right? So I don't want like to sit in this chair. I just want to customize according to my requirement. Likewise. So these are like we give a more comfort to a human being. That's where there are human-centric technologies. So now we move to individuality and human-centric technologies. All the jargons we talk about, AI or green or revolution, so now we are moving towards human-centric, more sophistication, right? So the technology which revolves and also we as a human, as a society, as a country, we would like to become a supreme power. So that's where it starts from the space technology or whatever technology in a cyberspace. We would like to become a supreme power, a supremacy. So that's where I would say is a cyberspace supremacy. So wherein we just want to be a power. So that means like we like to do a more on or we become a more power oriented things. So that's all the cyberspace and cyber security, all the companies were fighting for that to become an ultimate power and security. So in the TechAid agenda, so what we look for is a more human-centric technology which enables the society to make a better. And it's also we live in an app-driven economy. So everything is app. So we work on apps nowadays, and even the mobile phone is enough to you can travel around the world. So it's an app-driven economy, and then we all look forward the better world out there. So with this start with the security should make us resilient. It should not be a scary one. So it should make us a comfortable zone. So all the export which talks about more on the negative part of it, but at the positive side is how it enables a human life to make. So for example, you start from the entry. So we make so in this morning event, we make a notebook entry and we enter into, there is a reception, you take a printout. But we talk about IoT. So imagine a situation, there is an automatic entry enabled in your gate, which captures your car number or whatever it your faces and letting you inside the venue and takes the picture of it. It automatically generates and customize your chair, even customize your lunch. Right? Imagine the world how 10 years and 20 years. It's all more customization and technology is required. So that's where we all about, and the security is a key enabler to make it more sophistication. So with this note, I would like to invite a next round of discussions. What is the positive about our cybersecurity orientation and what the world around next 10 years or 20 years?
Yeah, very opening of some of our important food for thought kind of stuff. And just want to mention that all the views that I mention here is completely in my personal capacity and nothing to do with the organization. So varied topics that is being taught out even in our earlier session, like be it AI, ML, be it Web3, Metaverse, and even the kind of threat intel inputs that need to be actually worked on as research topics. The ones which I have seen, at least from an industry adoption, from where I have, there's definitely been there where I've spent significant amount of time as a service integrator, and then to a consulting as well as to help customers there. The growing adoption of digital platforms is definitely going to be there and it'll be multifold, as how Professor Das mentioned about 700 billion devices. I don't think it's a myth or it's an exaggeration. It is definitely going to happen. So are we gearing up to that is something which is the need of the hour. So key problem areas that I would see or think of. One, definitely embracing AI ML, whether you like it or not, you have to do it. And it is we cybersecurists who have to put some guardrails on how effectively can you use it in serving your customers, right? So having governance policies is something which is very important to ensure how effectively AIML models, the one which Pradipti was talking about, different learning models that can be effectively used in an organization so that it is quite secure while you're delivering it. Millions of data that you will have to definitely take use of in order to improve your customer service, like be it in your retail domain, your transport domain, one which Natarajan was talking about. Imagine if I want to improve my customer experience where it is completely digitized right from the entry to the organization or to the auditorium here to getting into the event. Similarly, the Digi Yatra, for example, people who are traveling across airports, if it is so well digitized, it significantly improves the customer experience. The volume of data that comes in, how effectively can we use, and the research in that space is extremely need of the hour, and that is going to stay for the next decade and so on. Thanks to Google and others who have actually embraced this, and the industries for effectively using it, like how Sarabjit was mentioning, it is important for the research and the products that are developed to be monetized as well. How is it going to come to the benefit of the common man is something that needs to be thought through as well. For example, the SecPalm, which Google has launched, which is actually a curated LLM model, which can be effectively used by the industries. I don't have to spend hours and millions of the data scrambling to check what is the data source, how can I get millions of data, and how effectively then can I start using it. Now, if I have a curated LLM model which is available for me to use, I will then start leveraging it to now address to the customer problems, which is the need of the hour, right? So that is something which is very key. And how effectively can we use, again, for the problem that Das was mentioning about threat intel. Threat intelligence is something which is so very important, and it is moving in a very rapid pace with the kind of technologies that are available with us. How much of that can be used in order to probably eliminate the false positives that are there, where most of my security analysts are spending time to even nail down to the positive ones, right? So I think this is something which is definitely needed, and it's going to be more exponential in the coming decade. So researchers focusing on these areas will be a very huge welcome, I would say, for the industries to adopt and take it this forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lakshmi.
So Natarajan was telling about enabling the security implicit in our systems, and that extra efforts, whatever we're putting, that has to be reduced. So definitely, like Geeta mentioned about the Digi Yatra kind of thing, definitely those things will help. But my perception about security, I would like to bring slightly different thing. See, like when we design our systems, most of the time we focus on the functionality of the system. I want to do online shopping, I want to do online banking, I want to do this, that, like that. So I'm more interested in completing my task. I want to buy something quickly. But I'm not very keen about the kind of layers which are created. Sometimes it's a kind of overhead also. So, the people who have written the SRS documents, they must be aware, like, see, functional requirements you mentioned, somewhere at the corner there used to be a non-functional requirements, safety, security we used to mention. But that has become prominent now. See, now we say that it is not something, okay, you look at a non-functional minimum thing you try to provide. Now we are talking about enabling security as part of our system design itself. Secure software development life cycle, secure hardware development life cycle. So I think the people who are basically involved in designing the systems, I think security is part of the system design itself. Like what we say now is like, think like an attacker. See, any emerging technology use like AML or a blockchain or quantum, any kind of thing. So emerging technology, like when we start using, it will definitely give a value addition. Smart contracts are very good. Okay, I can automate the things in blockchain. But at the same time, what are the hidden vulnerabilities inside the smart contracts that we need to explore and make sure that we try to address all those vulnerabilities, then only we can try to protect ourselves. So I think no one will be happy in having those extra layers built in the system, okay, because it's a kind of inconvenience. So, but we should look for such kind of layers where the inconvenience is reduced at the same time you are trying to enable the security. This is something which is very important. So I think pervasive computing like cyber physical system and other things, they help us definitely to capture these details and try to enable this kind of the security and resilience in our systems. But definitely any technology we are entering or we are adopting, I think we have to work towards understanding the threat scenario and try to build the layers of defense to protect from those threats which we need to face when we use such systems.
Hello. Yeah, they all told about AML, blockchain, so many topics. So the topic which I would like to discuss right now is about the concept of trust. So we have two kind of trust that when we talk about. One is the technical trust, like is there a digital signature? Does that digital signature, are we able to trace the chain to a trust anchor which we already trust? Does that certificate build properly? All those are kind of technical trust that we are talking about. But ultimately, all this technical trust comes and then it goes back into a social trust. Say if you get a physical device from someone, a vendor, a switch or an IoT device or something, and it comes to your hand, you see the label that, okay, it is coming from someone. We look at the firmware and is it doing a secure boot? What is the image? Is the image software image or the firmware image? Is that signed? Ultimately, we are coming only with the technical trust up to the point of telling that, okay, this is coming back into somebody whom I prior trust, which is indirectly getting into a social trust. So what I'm trying to look at is social trust is implicit. It's the reputation of the organization that we are looking at. How can we move more and more of the social trust into the technical trust space? It's not like everything we can move further, but how can we move more and more into it? That is where I'm looking at topics like supply chain security for hardware devices. So hardware, when I see, like, say it could be IoT devices, like how they were talking about, even when we are not talking about IoT device, say infrastructure, a data center, a server infrastructure, all that, all of them have an underlying hardware. So how do we know that all those hardware has come to you from a genuine vendor, how it has come to your hand? In fact, if you look at the hardware item, it goes from a manufacturer, it goes through multiple hands before it ultimately gets into an owner-operator place. There are system integrators, there are distributors, then they make larger system taking individual component. Doing all that, ultimately it gets to the owner-operator. And the primary functionality is in the owner-operator space. So did it go through all these kind of trusted channels? Did anyone tamper it on the way? Is it something different that you are getting than what was already stamped from the beginning? Those are the kind of topics which, at least the research topics that I'm personally looking at and which are challenges. More, it's quite not just doing a software algorithm change, it also has a hardware underlying that is. There are a lot of work that is happening in various bodies like IETF and trusted computing groups, confidential computing groups. There are various work that is going on. And apart from this, when it is running, the runtime, one of the earlier speakers was talking about in-memory tampering and in-memory modification. So you got everything, I think you were the one talking about it, yeah. You got everything and then put into the system is up and running, and then is it still running up the secure version of the firmware that we are talking about? So that's what the concept of attestation or a third-party attestation or an independent attestation or self-attestation, all that comes into. So there are models like the TCG models like DICE and all that are coming into to address those kind of challenges. In-memory continuous attestation, how you can take it, and cryptographic based attestation, not just believing on that stamp that is put in by or the QR code that is put in. This is where the deployment, like how do I give some references? Some of the references which you could look at is the Wi-Fi device provisioning protocols, or the FIDO Alliance has a device onboarding protocol. And if you are looking at the industrial IoT, the critical infrastructure sector, Industry 4.0, those kind of places, there are many specs that are coming in there from the OPC UA, device onboarding. Those are all kind of items which we can look at. IETF also has certain working groups on the RATs, remote attestation solutions. Those are all areas which are looking into. But there are still, these are about the applied research part that I'm talking. So the applied research is about how can we make use of all the existing fundamental pieces of the theoretical concepts into these kind of life cycle activities. We also need much more of theoretical research also into this area to understand how can we look at hardware as an enabler for the firmware security and the software security, because unless we have the underlying hardware good, we just cannot trust anything further on top of that. Everything else is castles in the air. So how can we build these foundational items? So this is the topic which I would look at as a future. Like that is my personal interest too. And in the domain in which I am working, there also these are the kind of interests that I'm seeing. And the academic interest also is the same. So this is equally applicable if you are talking about small compute devices. IoTs have a challenge that, okay, like they are not usually, unlike the data center devices, they are not kept in secure lockdown situation. I mean, there is not much of a physical security for IoT devices. They are left unattended. Most of the time you may not have a connectivity. You like network connectivity. People expect that you have an internet controlled managed item, and IoT, you have a device, you connect to internet to do manage all that, you run your MQTT and all. It's not possible in the critical infrastructure phase because they'll all be left unattended, and even internet connectivity is not there, unreachable places like a substation, for example, if you see. Those are other challenges. So when you are not able to reach to a place, when reachability is not there, whether it is physical or digital reachability, how can you ensure security? Like theft, say, how can we prevent theft of the physical devices from so like these kind of mechanisms which are using your communication and cryptographic methods? Those are the items which I would look at for the future of research areas from the topic, like coming from the embedded system security point of view.
Thanks, Mini. So it is obvious that any technology is a double-edged sword. So there are many positive things, but at the same time we must look at the challenges. So I'm kind of looking that the cyber security and the healthcare in a parallel things. So if you go and read and do a Google search and read any healthcare advertisement, or you listen from any physician, they start with prevent from heart attack, prevent from skin disease. They claim that it is just a attention factor. When anybody, if I start with a negative, even if you read any newspaper or news article, it starts with the negative things, right? It's more of the fact that 80% of content is just an activity, scarifying the humans, and then 20 or less than that is the content for positive or a business fact. Similar to a cybersecurity expert, if you listen to many of us, they start with the negative things. So what is the damage it cause so most of the times it starts from articles or advertisement or research papers. So there is our responsibility is keep people safe, comfortable, right? So research and innovation should focus on the impact what comfortable research can give for the cyberspace. So what kind of a transformation is one should take and look into the research perspective? Because whatever the cyber measures we have, it is very, very old. It starts from the vulnerability assessment or penetration testing. It's whatever the security operating centers, it works at the current trend. It's all like ages. So that requires a transformation, because you see, we talk about a whole lot of advancements, starting from the new kind of virtualization or new kind of now the impact of quantum computing, right? The so because the technology is always as a transformation rate is really, really high. So we must look at to the next generation of cyber security. How can we give a comfort for our users? So what if the end user or a society member, a layman about the technologies? He just wants a safety and security and comfortness, all that, right? So the R&D should focus on more on the impact, how we can transform the cyber security space into the next level, and how the next generation focuses. So that's where all the new R&D is focusing on now. It's like if you see recently, government is announced the Digital India Risk 5 open source architecture, and how we can design our own indigenous things so that we can no need to rely on that. At the same time, we need to there are because I represent more on the I work on the quantum crypto and other aspects and quantum technology, and I spent 5 years on UK and come back and join these R&D positions. So whenever I submit a proposal, the first question people ask, right, there is a NIST competition, hope many of you know, National Institute of Standard and Technology. There the people fixes what crypto algorithms is, there the people fixes what security measures one should incorporate. So we follow the typical standards, or we incorporate many of the standards from Europe and UK and then incorporate our own. But people from higher level, they ask a question, why don't you Indian scientists create an entry, a crypto entry in the NIST? Because there are across the country, Europe has an entry, or US has an entry, there are many countries, Israelis, they have an entry. Why don't the country, India is such a huge country, why don't you make crypto entries in the standards? So there are fundamental problems needs to understand. We always look at the business things. So when I submit a proposal, the question is how do we it's commercializable, how it can we enter into market. But there is a big technology gap. One should think there is a fundamental R&D needs to be happen. Then only you can make such impacts, right? So it's not like a crypto or cyber security. It's not only a commercial commodity. There is a core R&D components being involved, and one should focus on the fundamental research aspect. So one should focus on this kind of a fundamental area, how we can make it as a transformation in the R&D front, so that we can create a global level impact. So with this note, I think next is challenges and opportunities. How we look for in the cyber security, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities for India to pitch in.
I think with the digital world, we have enormous opportunities, and India is very rightly placed, even in the G20 summit that recently happened. We are one of the growth economists in the world. While everyone are grappling how to do it, we had rolled out solutions like Aadhaar for more than billion of people like us. And we are really thought leaders in the space of technology, innovation. And I'm really so amazing to hear through the panelists who were speaking about very niche topics, which are key topics for discussion and innovation that are there. So I think the opportunities are really enormous, and for institutes like IIIT, IISc, etc., I think it's huge for researchers to work on and to resonate to the challenges that are there out from the industry segment perspective, specifically in the cyberspace. Definitely adhering to the data privacy, how we can get to AI/ML models that can address to that space, which can actually lead to solutions, for example, like the sovereign cloud that has come out to regulated industries that can be taken to the market very quickly, leveraging the researchers. So that is something which is a welcome. Similarly, how effectively we can put guardrails so that we don't create biases for leveraging AI/ML models. So that is something which is very, very important and key. Getting that human-centric approach and improving customer experience or even user experience for that matter, at the same time not diluting the security levels, right? So that is something which is, again, another key. And in order to apply across the domains of cyber where you want to address to that, I think that is something which is very important, and opening up doors for researchers that can actually provide such solutions is something which will help industries adopt faster. And I think that will open up doors for India as well to stand out and take it to the world, is what I would like to say.
Yeah, coming to the challenges, before that, what I would like to present is about the kind of work which we have done in some of the domains. See, like for example, now if you talk about decade, one is the hyper connectivity, moving from 5G to 6G, smarter and smaller device everywhere. That is another thing where we are trying to access the critical services through them. And we are talking about decentralized governance through blockchain and other things like that, and intelligence everywhere. So these are the prime factors which are going to influence in the next decade. So looking at all these things, like suppose let us talk about IoT device. As Das sir mentioned about the fragmented market IoT, no standardization, the small size, small footprint, very cheap devices, so meant for specific purpose. So just like that, you can go and get the things and you are starting using for a specific purpose. In that scenario, actually, no proper security and lot of vulnerabilities left in the device. Can we ensure having the secured IoT devices in the next 1 or 2 years? May not be possible. Okay, it takes some time. So I think our approach need to be across multiple angles. One is, so one goal is actually we need to drive towards the secure design of these devices, but at the same time, we need to come out with some standards where we talk about evaluating the devices. See, like the way we have OWASP standard, top 10 vulnerabilities of mobile applications, even web applications and other things. There is some standard called as OWASP IoT security verification standard. So which is coming up. So now actually, like though the standard checklist, everything is there, but many times the people don't have capabilities or procedures to evaluate those things. So because like it's not that easy as we do for a web application kind of thing, because people should have good understanding of the hardware, they should have good understanding of the firmware. So what we had done is, one effort which you have come out is coming out with a handbook with the detailed procedures for carrying out the security evaluation of IoT device using OWASP ISVS. It's not standard we have created. For a standard, how to help people to evaluate the things. See, it is definitely possible, like in the near future, I think even some of the bid and documents and all, we are seeing that the camera device should have these kind of checks, kind of thing. They are not accepting the IoT device just like that. So if these kind of things come as a mandate, definitely we need to verify the devices, someone has to certify them, that is going to become important. So what I feel is, one is developing indigenous research outcome towards securing the things. At the same time, the tools and procedures to evaluate the things is also equally important. And at the same time, see, when they are through IoT devices, when we are trying to access the critical services, like not just in consumer electronics, we are in industrial IoT and automotive, health sector, like that. In all these sectors, when we are talking about IoT, so the security of the devices becomes very important, and especially when you're talking about security by design here, I feel based on the criticality, hardware root of trust and trusted execution environment should be utilized in the IoT device. But again, it should be graded, may not be required for every domain, but you talk about ICS or health sector, this becomes very, very crucial. So coming to the mobile security also, like we never imagined our online payments become so easy with the mobile. We were always worried, but the COVID has made us mandate, there was no alternative, so we have gone ahead. So now critical services we are able to access through the mobile applications. So this is one thing which definitely is very important. See, it's not like if you keep worrying about there are vulnerabilities, it can be compromised, we'll not be able to use the technologies. So we need to keep using the technologies, at the same time try to develop the solutions so that we can try to protect from the vulnerabilities and other things like that. So one effort which you have done in the mobile security is, if you go to Google Play Store, there is something called Kavach 2. Okay, so it's basically just like you download an application from the Google Play Store. This is an application which gives the security posture of your device. So whether you have any banned applications installed on your device, banned by Government of India, whether any malicious applications are there, whether any hidden applications are there. Is there any threat with, there is a small ML model also enabled in that mKavach itself, which will try to analyze and gives the threat intelligence kind of thing. So this we provided, it is not, it will not give a stringent security where strategic agencies and all will use, but it is an app, any citizen can download it and use it in a day-to-day operations. And similarly, to carry out detailed analysis, like one of the speaker was talking about, see, these attackers are adversary, they have these anti-reversing defenses. They try to protect themselves, like obfuscation techniques and other things like that. So we have come out with some solution called Visleshak, where we try to bypass those anti-reversing defenses and go into the details of the insights of the mobile applications. And also we have one more Parikshan through which we carry out the detailed static and dynamic analysis of the applications. So these basically many strategic agencies and all use them. At same time, we have something called MSeva, one of the service which is offered from our CDAC Mumbai Center. Any application which is hosted there, we try to analyze through all these solutions and then put it into the site kind of thing. So like that, if you look at it, though we have hardening capabilities, like Natarajan was asking about challenges. See, these are all the solutions we are able to give. But definitely, unless you try to provide at the platform layer, it may not give the stringent security. But if you want to enable at the platform, we have to work closely with the OEMs, hardware vendors. I think that is something which is very crucial. Otherwise, anything as at the app level can be compromised. Okay, so these things need to be looked at in future. Similarly, even in the mobile domain also, we have hardware root of trust coming, trusted execution environment, where we carry out the critical activities, they need to be taken care. And coming to the blockchain domain, as we are all aware, like, moving towards the decentralized governance. See, right now we are trying to depend on various institutions to enable the trust, like banks, colleges, all these government departments. But the idea is, in the long run, move towards the decentralized trust, which is enabled through the software layer. So it comes in public and permissioned, all these kind of models. But if you look from a government perspective, see, the government always want to enable various services to the citizens and looking at the identity of the citizens. It's not like, so anonymously you try to enable some services, it may not be feasible. So take the benefits of the blockchain in terms of permissioned mode and provide the services. At the same time, the whatever decentralized governance and all we are talking about in the Web3 domain, I think there should be some kind of amalgamation of this public and permission blockchain with appropriate pilots and all we need to carry out, so that we can understand them properly and then we can start adopting them. And we need to map them to the fiat currency, which is the regulated by the government. That's more important from the government perspective, which we need to look at it. Also, one thing when you talk about AI and blockchain, see, one of the problem with which we generally face with AI is, like, worry for all of us is poison databases, models can be stolen, these impersonation of their details and other things like that. So can we think about provenance or the trust coming from the blockchain for the AI models and other things like that? AI projects putting on the blockchain. So I think these kind of things we can look at it. See, there are challenges, but definitely we should keep moving in addressing these kind of things. Then only we'll be able to effectively adopt the various emerging technologies. Thank you.
Lakshmi, thanks for introducing those terms, trusted execution environment and hardware root of trust. Like when we talk about, like the question originally was about what is the challenges and opportunities. About challenges, let me keep aside that part of it. I think we have a lot of opportunities to talk about. Security, if you look at the security from quite a national stage or even at a smaller scale also, it's more about multiple angles to look at it. There are political aspects, there are social aspects, technological aspects, all that. And most of the time, at least me or the kind of people whom I work with, the focus is on technical aspects. But then how can we use these technological aspects to also attend to the challenges that are there in the social and the political aspects? That would be one good way that we could look at, because some of those social problems or political problems, which are the real causes of those security problems, like if you look at them as security per se as is one of a complex problem or a wicked problem. You solve one thing, you have something new problem to solve. That's the way it is. So it's like it's forever a problem solving method. So it's more to identify the technical problems that we have to solve and then identify solutions or come out with solutions which are at least at a primitive level, which we can use for various domains, various aspects. And that's where these two terms which I wanted to come back into was the trusted execution environment, hardware root of trust. Those are primitives which you have support in the system. They don't solve any of your problems on their own, but they give you the building blocks. Like the way I look at them is a place for you to stand so that you can do something else further on application security, OWASP, all that are higher level protocols, not at the lowest layer. But if you look at hardware root of trust, trusted execution environment, they are all at the lowest layer. So first you need to ensure that your lowest layers are fine. And then another topic which I would try to look at in the future as an opportunity is how do we compute on without sharing? Like morning there was some talk which were talking about the 3 Cs. So how do we do this computation on data which is still in encrypted form? I don't want to share any of my data, but I want to get my computation done. Like I think there was also one talk about like on secret data, you compute over the secret data. I think you were talking about that. So those are all algorithmic aspects to look at. And if you look at opportunities, we have enough of the ecosystem here. I think probably we are ignoring them, or we are thinking that we don't have enough of that. Like the NIST, other countries will come out with competition. Why we are not coming out with competition? I don't believe in all that, because we also have our own ecosystem for doing all the solutions. Like to tell some examples, like if you look at secure computation, we have courses going on in the NPTEL by a professor from here itself. Ashish sir is running that course on secure multi-party computation, which is very niche advanced topics which will give us the primitives on how we can do computation on encrypted data already, which is encrypted. I don't want to share, and then how can you do those computation? That is one. Another area which is we could look at is the confidential computing. Like that's again in the same aspects of computation over the encrypted data. Like if you look at forums like confidential computing consortium and all that, they have multiple models for doing them. One is like my focus. I'm not too much focused right now into the algorithmic aspects, but then how can we use trusted execution environment like Intel SGX or the ARM Trust Zone, or build up on top of that, so that we can do computation in a secure enclave that is protected from any of the other adversaries. And the next point is the power of proof. We say that, okay, I have a trusted execution environment underlying, I have a hardware root of trust underlying, but what is the proof that we are able to tell that, okay, I do have a trusted execution environment underlying? So the power of proof is where the attestation comes into picture. So we also need to tell to an independent person by a cryptographic attestation means that, okay, the underlying trusted execution environment is the trusted execution environment that you are providing. If you are not able to do that, then we are depending on the social trust and not on the technical trust. So these are all the areas which I would see as opportunities, and we have forums like this where we could exchange knowledge. The relation between industry and the academia is there. So I would suggest that we should make use of all those forums that are existing. We have learning platforms like NPTEL where our professors are coming and talking about all these very advanced topics are being talked about there. So we should make use of all that. That's what I would say. The problems in the security space, as I say, it's not like, okay, this is a bunch of problems, let us solve it and the world has become secure. It's never that manner, because they have the nature of complexity and the wickedness that is coming in. So solve one, like at least personally, my bigger problem is in identifying the crisp and clear problem statements to convert them into technical problems. Okay, this is algorithm that I want to develop, which can address all these kind of socio-political or other system level problems, larger system. Like in an IoT, from 1 and 2, you start from the sensor, you take your data all the way up to your cloud infrastructure, do your algorithms computation, you get it back, then you have your local control. So the entire cycle has to be considered when you are looking at a system level security. So those are the topics which I would look at as for future. I'm also talking of my personal interest topics, which I spend a lot of time into this. So I would think that you will find those topics interesting.
Thanks, Minnie. So this concludes various views of the cybersecurity. to a final concluding remark. So I see the security in all type of, it start from the physical security as well as the cyber security. Nowadays it is an add-on feature. For example, if you buy a car, then the intelligence brake or smart brake or airbag or whatever the security feature, it is an add-on feature which costs you more. And similarly, say if you get a mobile phone, now the Samsung announced a quantum random number generated mobile phone that it costs. So security is an add-on feature on cost basis. But I would say because the security solutions are expensive, it cannot afford by the common man. So the innovation, I would say, the security solution should be affordable enough. It is a common feature. If you are a business class traveler or a economic class traveler, so the security is common for all. It should be affordable enough. The R&D or innovation should focus on the more, it's an affordable security, where the I would prefer personally the TechAid as an agenda, where the security must be affordable for a common man. With this note, I conclude this session, and thanks for the audience as well as the panel speaker for an
Yeah, I think a good round of applause for the panelists for this eminent information and a knowledgeable discourse. And very rightly said, this is a digital era and all, and a decade. Everybody is coming to the digital platform indeed. All of us, everybody, irrespective of the age, irrespective of the size, irrespective of the kind of business organization or in individual capacity. When everybody is here, definitely ensuring security for all is also a key. And we always say that it's now commutative, cooperative effort required to beat this challenge out. So very rightly said, security with affordability, again, a key to have an eye on. So thank you so much. And I would just request a small token. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much for sparing time, parting wisdom, and thank you, really. It means a lot.
Respected all speakers and delegates, these were truly rewarding, knowledgeable sessions. Now, taking a little break of 10 minutes, we will reunite by 12 p.m. sharp. So, it's a humble request to you all to have a small tea break and join them sharp by 12 p.m., please. We welcome all the delegates and speakers to the next session of today's summit, which is on research, productization, and commercialization. Way forward towards indigenous, self-reliant technology innovation. For this session, I would like to call upon the dais our eminent speakers, Mr. Abhinav Biswas, Deputy Manager Corporate IT Security. Dr. Upasana, Defense Institute of Advanced Technology. And Mr. Darshan, Technology Expert from Third Eye. This session will be moderated by Dr. Sarabjit.
New Zealand spirit, rather should be much better after a little break. So yeah, let's carry it on. Please have a seat, panelists. Which is again a very rewarding session, looking forth from a good discourse and discussion. It's about research, productization, and commercialization. A way forward towards innovation and self-reliant existence with indigenous technology. So before we commence actually, so first round of introduction from you all. Yeah, so starting from you, please.
So, a very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Abhinav Biswas. I am a Chief Fellow and a cybersecurity professional since last 10 years. I'm currently spearheading the core cybersecurity operations of Electronics Corporation of India Limited, ECIL, a leading public sector enterprise and a Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India, which caters to strategic sectors like nuclear, defense, aerospace, IT, and e-governance. I have deep links to army since my childhood. My father is a retired signals officer. My younger brother is a major in the army signals. A lot of our previous speakers had connections with army, and I am an alumnus of UK Defence Academy, Cranfield University, as well as BITS Pilani. All my years of research has been focusing on how to safeguard our national critical infrastructure from hackers and adversaries. In the past few years, I have started multiple reformatory initiatives like proactive vulnerability assessment schemes, uh, automated incident response mechanisms, gamification of crisis management policies and procedures, etc. I have also audited sensitive government organizations like Nuclear Fuel Complex, NFC Hyderabad, and my research interest is into convergence of AI ethics and cybersecurity. That's me. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Very good afternoon. Myself, Dr. Upasna from Defense Institute of Advanced Technology, Pune. I have been working in this institute since 2011, and maybe most of you might have not heard this institute's name because this is one of the only institute I can say in India which is fully funded by DRDO. So it is the DRDO's baby, I can say, and here our students basically belongs to tri-services, scientists, PSUs, and since last, I can say 2006 onwards, it is open for all our GATE participants also. So earlier it was a closed unit wherein only scientists used to work, and but in 2010 there was the direct recruitments and the faculties have been recruited to this. So here, I can say the very different kind of environment I witnessed, wherein I have seen all the service officers who are, commissioned, maybe having the experience of field experience of around 15 to 20 years. They are there to seek the knowledge about the cutting edge technologies, and there are around 10 departments wherein this university is upholding the research and the development aspects. And because I am working specially in the School of Computer Engineering and Mathematical Sciences, so here we are running the courses related to cybersecurity, MTech cybersecurity since 2011, and artificial intelligence we have just started in 2019, and other courses like data science and modeling and simulation also party to it. So here, because you see the students are from the various experienced background, so we can say here we are learning from our students, and in that way we actually came up with the research aspects also in the domain of cybersecurity. Especially, I am looking into the domain of digital forensics for cybersecurity, and being my PhD area related to robotics and artificial intelligence, I am also instrumental in doing the research related to deep learning and machine learning. So I can say that this university maybe in the coming time is becoming the institute of national importance, as the research activities which are actually of cutting edge technology like quantum computing and even materials and metallurgical engineering, and even the computer science aspects which are taken into the research from our defense sector side, which have been covering up all the aspects which are required for our nation's security are covered. So I'm belonging to that fraternity. So I really welcome you all to our institute, and please do visit sometime there, and please see the expertise belonging to the different areas available. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, all. I am Darshan Vadikar. I am from Third Eye Techno Solutions. I'm a co-founder and director technical there. Although we are into the main line of business is setting up the new labs, digital forensic labs for law enforcement agencies and corporates as well. But from last year, we have started new divisions which are into one of it is academy, wherein we are providing trainings to the students as well as the working professionals, and the other one which is identifying the existing and ongoing researches which can be productized and can be brought to the market as indigenous tools. Personally, I'm very very hopeful that we will be very together we will be very successful with the researchers in India and get our own products out in the market, and we can compete with the world here.
Yeah. So moving towards like research productization, I think the only key, the way we can have our own Indian products into the market and to have a self-reliant ecosystem. Why are we always looking for means? Though it's a means complete word. Globally, we are all now the digital platform has brought everybody together. There's no gap left anyhow. But yet, as a national level, there'll be nothing else, no better achievement than to be self-reliant, to be self-sufficient. Why not? We shall. So I think these kind of initiatives play a key role there. So looking forth for the associated ways, experiences, challenges, and your way for this whole theme. So yes, Abhinav, starting from you. So what is there for you to talk about on this really? Because you have multifaceted experience, so just give us some insights, your perspective.
So first I would like to talk about ECIL. ECIL was founded in 1967 and it was founded by Dr. A.S. Rao as the electronics wing of Bhabha Atomic Research Center. Now in that year, the vision statement of A.S. Rao of ECIL still is self-reliance in strategic electronics. So self-reliance is something not new. It's that old. But the prominence has increased now. The importance of self-reliance is much more in this decade. But we really need to understand why self-reliance or productization or indigenization of technologies is important and how much is it important. To understand that, we need to have a global perspective. So quite a few months back, I was in UK's Defense Academy. There I got to learn about their national cybersecurity strategy and how the Western countries are seeing these cybersecurity challenges and what are their strategies to combat that. And I was surprised to see that they are not at all thinking about self-reliance or indigenization. They are not at all talking about make in UK. Our Prime Minister gives slogans like vocal for local, Atmanirbhar Bharat, make in India. We are thinking a lot about self-reliance. But those countries, no. We will not manufacture anything in UK or Europe. We'll manufacture in India or say called China. But that strategy is different. But let us understand how they're able to do it. It's not that they are not facing cybersecurity challenges. The ENISA, European National Information Security Agency, came up with a report, top 30 emerging threats by 2030. And in that, the number one threat was supply chain attacks. And if you see the recent big scale attacks like the SolarWinds attack, where the software supply chain was compromised, these kind of attacks are not hitting just one organization or one industry sector of an economy. It's creating a cascading effect across multiple sectors. And supply chain attacks are the most dangerous thing that is going to come. But even if those countries have acknowledged that, why they are still not thinking of making technologies in-house? Why they are still not thinking of domestic manufacturing? Why they are thinking of outsourcing it to developing nations? Because they have understood the value of IP creation. They know manufacturing creates other problems like environmental problems. They have other goals of zero net emissions and all. They don't want to pollute their environment. They don't want to, but they want to own the IP. They want to do the research. They want to patent those research, and they want to own the IP. Let the manufacturing happen in developing nations. So this is not just a European strategy, but even the US have been doing it for a long time. Just now, in the last few years, they have been started thinking of manufacturing in-house because of supply chain issues again. Now, that's the western part of the world. If you see the eastern part of the world, other nations apart from India like China, Russia, they are actually thinking about indigenization. If and because if you talk about Russia, when the Ukraine war broke up, US had two options to curb Russia or suppress Russia. One, to remove them from the banking SWIFT network so that they can impose sanctions, right? And they eventually did that. Second was they wanted to disconnect them from the internet. Because if you see, there are 12 root servers, DNS root servers, and out of those, 10 are controlled by US organizations. So if US and the conglomerate of some European countries decide that we want to disconnect some country, some eastern countries from the internet, they can do it. Technologically, they can do it. So Russia understood this threat. And that is why they have started coming with their own version of internet called Sprinternet. And that's a different area of research. If you see China, China with their Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, they have come up with something you call a DSR, Digital Silk Road Project, by virtue of which they are trying to push their homegrown technologies, domestic technologies to the world. They have developed their own BGP routers, which are able to even divert traffic from like Pentagon. There was a paper where Chinese Liberation Army, they were able to divert uh, traffic to the Pentagon, US Pentagon, using something called BGP hijacking, and they did it for 15 minutes, and US was not able to detect it. And that is the reason why now US has banned Huawei in 5G, and also in 6G they will do it. So China is not only having self-reliance, but also having an expansionist mindset. They are also putting forward their technology across the world. They have literally gone to ITU, International Telecommunication Union, where they propose that the current internet governance is not decentralized. It's controlled by a group of or a handful people, powerful people. So they have proposed a new framework which they call it IPv6, which is a decentralized internet infrastructure, DII, and it's something based on blockchain, which will replace the complete TCP/IP stack. So the layers which we talk, whole thing will get changed. And luckily ITU, because they did not get the majority of votes, so they did not approve that proposal. But China didn't stop there. They have moved ahead. They have installed such routers in continents like Africa and South America, and even in China. So these are the strategies of some Eastern countries and some Western countries. Now coming to India, India is thinking a lot about indigenization, and I feel it is really needed. Because if you see the critical infrastructure of India, starting from the bottom chip level to top level operating systems, nothing indigenous. And it is a reality, it is a fact. Until unless we have this indigenization of the whole stack, we cannot secure it. Somebody was talking about hardware trojans, right? We can have some security on the application layer or the software layer, but if there are hardware trojans built in, it's a pure supply chain attack. Supply chain attacks can happen through 4 vectors actually. First is the software supply chain attack, hardware supply chain attack. Third is cloud service provider based supply chain attacks. There are a lot of attacks like the CCleaner attack, if you see, where the update servers of the CCleaner server were compromised, and that was using AWS cloud. So using that, leveraging that, they compromised other AWS clients. So that is a service provider based supply chain attack. And the fourth component is people based supply chain attacks, where you manipulate and psychologically do social engineering to do a supply chain attack. And supply chain attacks are much more deadly, and they are much more deadly than APTs, because by definition it is a two-stage attack where you first compromise the supplier and then leverage it, pivot it to go to the next consumer of that thing. So end customer is then compromised. Now this can have, like I was saying, cascading effect. It can have multiple effect across multiple sectors. Ransomwares nowadays are using this supply chain as a concept, because lot of software which is being developed today is having some or the other open source component. CDAC started with the Bharat operating system. You know, we started implementing it in our defense forces, even in ECL we started implementing it. But if you see, again we are talking about Maya OS. I think that's a big news nowadays. But did we really analyze what went bad or what went wrong with BOSS? If you do a simple CIS scan of a BOSS operating system, you will see lot of it will get a very less score, hardly 5 or 4 out of 10 scan score. So are we really working on keeping that OS or software updated over a period of time? A researcher's incentive is not just to do cutting edge research and publish it and then stop. This is where organizations like ECIL, Bell, I think can actually partner with research organizations and make sure that the research is finally converted into a product, and continuous upgrades, updates, and innovation on that product keep on happening. Then only I think we can actually address the cybersecurity challenges. That's all.
Yeah, so that was a perspective of maybe the global overview from the experience and the perspective, what has been brought forth by the panelists. And now let us hear from Darshan.
Yes.
Yep.
Sure. So I will start with, 10 years back when we started this company and started setting up the labs for law enforcement agencies. That time, there was a very big, very huge knowledge gap in law enforcement. And that was because of the type of workforce that they had. They were more oriented towards the field side of it, right? Running behind the criminals, catching them physically and all that. They had a huge gap also, in understanding the technology, the IT side of it. But now recently, I'm very happy to see some 3 or 4 years back, uh, they have really done a good job. They are really good in technology. At least the tier 1 and tier 2 cities, law enforcement agencies and police workforces, I can confidently say that they are at par with what the police agencies are in US or UK. They are able to understand things. They are able to, detect the crimes using the technology. Also, on the second side is the workforce. We have really good workforce in digital forensics nowadays. I would say, there are so many institutes which are running digital forensic courses. We can take a good example of National Forensic Science University, which is expanding really good. I mean, they are having institutes all over India now, right? So we'll have a huge workforce that will be ready. Something that happened, to the software industry, like we had a lot of processes being outsourced to India. We are seeing that happening in digital forensics. We get so many requests from mostly from Arabian countries, even US nowadays, that they want to outsource their analytics side of the business to the Indian companies, because we are really good at it. Unfortunate part is, uh, all the products that we are using, may that be law enforcements, may that be us as private service providers, all of them are either from US, Israel, Sweden, or Poland. Major products, right? There are some products that are there in India, but major products are from outside. We are completely dependent on them on that. We can do analytics, but we don't have our products. I mean, the question is, I don't understand why, because we have such a good pool of researchers in India. We have so many academic institutions which are dedicated in doing the researches, right? The researches are happening, but they are not being productized. The research happens, the inferences are drawn, the conclusions are drawn, and then it stops there. The industry is also equally, I mean, responsible for it, they are not coming forward. They are more interested towards, trading. Like, I buy it from here in X amount and I sell it to the Indian agencies in Y amount, and I earn my profit and I go. But how many days we will continue to do this? I think it's time that industry and academics together should come together and, start identifying the projects which can really be productized, really can be competition to the entire world. I mean, it's time. Uh, other thing that will benefit is also for the students. Like, when we start, productizing these things, uh, we will have a scope of having interns in this field right from the product development part. So in a student life itself, the students will learn what are the practical problems and practical issues in the industry. So when they are ready to, come out, from the day one, they will be able to be on production for whichever company that they will work for. They will understand the issues of the industry, and they will be able to apply their learnings that they have done, during their degrees. So I think we should really move ahead and start doing this, and together we should come and productize all the possible researches that is there.
Yeah, Dr. Upasna.
So, as the experience which I have being an academician and a researcher, and then going for the productization, uh, in a class, generally, I have seen the service officers and the students, gate scholars, and the scientists. So, scientists are, we can say, halfway researchers, and gate students are simple. They are BTech and they are eager to learn new things. But yes, their objective is what? Just to get the job. However, here, service person, he is not here for the job, but he is having an objective to learn what is new and to use it for the real time purpose, which is, and that real time purpose is very different. It's a border security. So that is, so the objectives are, you see, the kind of objectives are varied, and in that way we have to convey that okay, this is the technology, now this is the application. So in what way we can suffice, yes, this application is pertaining to the, you can say, layman who is actually just listening to the technology, or it is just applicable to the person who is in need for the you can say border security or the requirements, related requirements. And one aspect is doing the research, whether what is the objective of our research. If we do the research, our objective is totally different from the entrepreneur, right? So the business side objectives as well as the research objectives, they are different, and that too in academics. So there is a mixed kind of, mindset. Okay, what we need to do, and the requirement is for the academician having the publication in the repute, status of our whatever the community is in the domain. That is one part, and other, this is the second part. Okay, so we can say this is the secondary objective. Okay, have the productization done, but what is the need of the society? Yes, we should have indigenous products, but how we end up with being an academician, being a researcher, and in academics, what should be my objective? Yes, it should be first of all to cater the needs of what our service people require, also what nation requires. That is, yes, the product should be used by the layman or the people who require that, right? So we have to bridge some of the gaps, and that too, if we are in, government sectors, definitely the procedures which are actually required to you can say this technology transfer, that is also maybe if some of you have done that, so how much time it used to take to get the technology transfer done. So these are few things, means being an academician, we actually used to take care of. But definitely the innovation or you can say the research part, definitely give a different picture altogether to the business side, and it is the need of the hour.
Yeah. So there were different perspective we could get to hear, and like one has been like the movement. The globally people are moving ahead with the strategization to beat the cybersecurity challenges. The other, like we going for indigenization, we want self-reliance, and whether if it is taking time at this moment we should adhere to, or we should move into a hybrid kind of mechanism. Let us have some better security kind of mechanisms for the better cybersecurity posture at this moment. At the same moment, leveraging our existence, our efforts to come to a point where we have self-reliance, where we have indigenous technologies. If there is coming at chip level, some of the faults, some of the trojans, some of the malwares we are able to sense. Now hardware security definitely needs to be geared upon then. Semiconductor mission and all those things. Efforts have to be. If we don't have, we have to have a start. Else where and when do we think would come that point when we would say, yes, we are sufficient. We do have that facility generated with us. When I used to undertake R&D, people used to say, would R&D give a solution which will be competent with the industry product? If you're thinking of novelty, if you're thinking of a product which has a proactive foresight research good component, then definitely yes. Yes. We have to have research. We'll have to have a vision. We have to have a very, very diligent, sincere efforts. And surely, in my personal experience, my research teams have generated those solutions which were competent with that of the industry, and not only competent or bypassing them. But is it that is there available for all? Every researcher or the teams can do that. As Dr. Upasna rightly was saying, being an academician, you have one role to play. Your inside researcher is yelling to go for research, to develop products. Then there we see a scope of industry for researchers, that whatever research they have done, now that can be leveraged by adding on customization, by adding on those specifications, by making the product much more sophisticated. For instance, if some product solution is there having a very good component of research, but is having a CUI, the interface is command line. Every person who's not that tech savvy won't be able to take advantage of this now. Thing is very good, but utility is coming to a means marginal utilization. Industry people taking on, embracing it, adding on efforts, or developers team or startups. But that embracement leads to that one front end vision, adding which it leverages the utilization, and now masses can take utilization of that. So this kind of coherence definitely is required. And this is one experience that Data Security Council of India at National Center of Excellence has been doing. We have undertaken some research incentivization, a lot of exhaustive research. Even Dr. Upasna has been a teammate in that, Dr. Pradeepti. So a lot of good researchers are there. They are putting a lot of exhaustive research. Our own team also works with them, and we have a cumulative, means cutting edge research component and solutions being developed. And then is the task that unique in its own capacity is whereby we then bridge it to the industry people. That now this is the development, and if industry comes and leverages that, this is how pipeline completes. We have got some good success stories coming up, and it is very, very good, heartening that yes, this is a way how technology is taking to the next level, coming forth for utilization. There are various ways how those MOUs were being done. Royalties have been there, we can cite. Coming back to research communities through this cycle, again, that can be leveraged for more work and more impetus. So, and this is not one way. The cycle is the other way around too. Industry people, startups coming to us, they're also having their specific use cases, looking forth for some solution, having a R&D team itself for every use case you're citing, for citing. I mean, every industry should have that, or we already have a layer working for that. So they have come forth. Again, NCOE, DSCI has played a crucial role. We bridged that to research. And it was really great experience that they have dwelled in, they have put diligent efforts, they have developed those solutions which were further taken to the next level. So yes, it is not that difficult. Self-reliance or feeling well, whether we'll be having or we'll be able to reach to that level or not, it can be a question, but shall we not put efforts? Shall we not start? Shall we not means expedite it? Yes, we have to at this moment, we have to do it. But I think the solution is this, that definitely whatever best we do have, we have to keep our eyes open, because we can be on one side of a globe with our own capacities, but word on digital platform is not fragmented. Everybody is part of the same digital sphere. If somebody is ahead and creating something positive, okay. What if something negative? If negative is happening, from where it is happening, it is not important, but something is happening and you have to be safe for. This is something more important. And whose duty is that? We all want security, we all want a cyber safety, but who would ensure that for us? Definitely, every stakeholder has a role to play therein. These all steps that we are talking in today's summit, and many more such stimulations to our stakeholders, congregatively is going to yield that effort, which will ensure that not for one, but for one and all of us. So research productization, I think definitely indeed is an effort. And people should have an eye open, as Abhinav rightly mentioned, that what is happening global side, we have to keep an eye on. What we want should be the goal to earnestly yearn for, to achieve. Definitely, correct? So with this, I think let us put a close to this session. And surely if everybody, all the stakeholders will be putting efforts, we'll have self-reliance, we'll have indigenous technology, we'll have better cybersecurity and experience. So thank you all. Panelists have given very good insight, and thank you so much for your efforts and presence.
Thank you all for this wonderful deliberation. Now today, which is strengthening the cyber ecosystem, bringing together the trio, government, industry, and academia. I would request the speaker of this session to join the stage at front dais. Mr. Balaji Rajendran from CDSE Bangalore, Mr. Jayaraman, ex-RBI Cybersecurity Advisor, Professor P.M. Soundar Rajan, heads the International Strategic and Security Studies program at the National Institute of Advanced Studies.
In your organization, and two is in what you're doing now. What does the next 2-3 years look like from a set of challenges point of view, your own perspectives? Yeah. Over to you, ma'am, to begin with.
So, as in the previous session, it was discussed, the challenges that we, or we can say, I have seen that many of our researchers, like me, we are there to learn many new things. And, you know, when we are learning since long, then sometimes this learning would be becoming a passion to us. Then we come up to some of our interesting, areas of research. We just go for that, and the users, or you can say the practical practitioners actually of the domain, they were doing the things in some different way what we were studying. So that also we used to learn. So that is what I'm saying. First, from the service point of view, what people are using in defense or even in industry, that perspective also should have to come in academics. It's very much required. Otherwise, we cannot blend up. We are just ended up with doing our, solving the implementations which have already been occurred, or seeing the experiments done in books. But if right now we are in the era where we are seeing that lot of the technologies where we are not having much literature available, but yes, we are moving ahead to work into that direction as well. So we should have to collaborate in such a way so that our learning will be there for all the directions.
So, a quick question. Uh, so, you are a frontline research and academic organization for all of Ministry of Defense. Have you been able to gain the trust of the three services, where they come to you with problems as the first stop, right? I mean, at least from a school of computational sciences, are there in recent times problems that they've come to you with? Thank you. So if you can tell us a little about what your organization is doing, and and the evolution that you see towards cyber problems, cyber solutions, and where we are with respect to our peers.
Yeah, I would
both
also
within the
request
country and
Balaji Racharaman, please come on the dais and share that. We can understand the Bangalore's traffic it's a pain, huh, sometimes. But please, please, please. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for first of all, thanks to DSCI for giving this opportunity. So my name is brief introduction. My name is Paramalai Jayaraman. So I have close to 3 decades of industry experience. In that 2.5 decades only in cybersecurity. There is no prize for guessing the age by experience. Just to talk about briefly the achievements, at least what I seen India as a country in the cybersecurity space. We have come a long way to go. We have come a long way, starting from where we are done during early 1990s, and today we have come a long way in the form of cybersecurity achievements. So specifically, some of the achievements, if I need to call it out, cybersecurity is definitely a boardroom topic today, right? So it's clearly a boardroom topic. Not only just BFSI alone, but even many other places, at least people are recognizing what a cybersecurity is. I myself see it early 90s. People don't even know what is cybersecurity. I worked with Vinayak during early 2000. We talked about DSF, DPF. People don't even know the spelling of it. Today we have seen after 15, 20 years of effort, we have seen the act being passed in the parliament. That's a very good development. We have a reasonable understanding, at least in BFSI, right at the board level. I'm insisting this because governance plays a very, very vital role. At the board level, the governance, cybersecurity governance is picking up, at least in BFSI. Other sectors slowly catching up. It's not far away. The courses, which is very important, especially since we are sitting in the academic institutions, cybersecurity is hardly heard in the institutes. When I went for university recruitment on campus, we talk about recruitment, people will say that I will go to development, Java, C, C++. Nobody talked about cybersecurity those days, and no courses also available, right? And today we have come a long way, right, from Madam, what she talked about earlier, and a lot of institutes available even in India, which is premium, which is also gaining much bigger reputation among the college students, universities, even right at the entry level, like for example, +2 students or the 10th grade students. That's a very big achievement where we come. Now, this is a broad level achievements what you talked about. Since you talked about challenges, let me talk about the industry where I come from. Right now I'm doing a freelancing as an advisor across multiple sectors, be it IT, be it startups especially, as well as the banking particularly. So what I've seen broadly, foremost what I want to highlight is we are predominantly technology driven, which is not bad. I'm okay with that. but technology cannot alone be driving this whole cybersecurity space, which resulting in any problem we talk about, one more technology will come into the play. Any malware, any threat, any issues what we face, we talk about technology after technology, boxes after boxes, which ending up, for example, if you start a plain Ethernet port or the wireless LAN from the end point, if you need to reach the destination, there is something like a 32 hops. I used to tell that 32 hops will get crossed even within the enterprise itself. We talk about a LAN, WAN, routers, switches, IDS, IPS, you name it. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So I think in the result, we end up with a desperate number of products on the enterprise. Whenever I go for any discussions, I used to ask only one very simple question. I'm sure you also talk about in the industry, small and medium, especially large enterprises. Only one question. Let them get a correct answer, accurate answer, not even I'm saying 100%. Get reasonable 90% accurate answer. Give me the list of all security products and technologies. I'm not even talking about tools. I'm not even talking about applications. I'm not even talking about homegrown developments. Just give me the list of all inventory of security technologies and products being used in your environment. Unfortunately, most of the CISOs are not able to give, including CIOs, are not able to give reasonable, accurate answer. The problem is not with the enterprise. The problem is the way in which vendors are designing, the way in which the security thought process is getting into. That's the first most biggest challenge what I want to put it on the table. The second one, since I talked about technology, most of the time we talk about problem lies in the technology. When we go and talk to a security incident, we throw one more technology. When we got some other problem happen in either industry, people talk about this technology failed, that technology failed, we'll procure one more box. So whereas the real problem lies in the processes. So that is where I strongly feel academy and industry should come together. Really on the ground, industries, be it SMEs, be it large enterprises, are struggling to identify, struggling to implement the robust processes on vulnerability management, asset inventory management, configuration management, change management. Most of the security problems lies with processes who are not capable people existing, which I will talk about later. So to start with, I put across these two problem statements. We could debate more as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Soundarajan, sir, it's a pleasure to have you here. Can you give us an insight? You can hear me, right? Can you give us an insight to this entire area of aviation technology, avionics, and where cyber sits, you know, in that vertical, and the challenges that you particularly face, because this is not commercial truly, these are mostly military off the shelf kind of technologies. Tell us about the learnings that you had in your own journey in research.
Yeah, I'm going to discuss issues as requested by the coordinator about issues on the defense technologies that we use today with reference to cyber. First of all, let me introduce myself. I have more than 40 years experience with defense R&D organization, working on different fields like communication, radar, um, aircraft, uh, cockpit instruments to mission computers, hardware, software, uh, everything, everywhere. So I have a very reasonably good picture. In fact, we have successfully developed the avionics for indigenous aircraft like the Jaguar. The airframe and engine are not from us, but the total brain within the aircraft is completely ours. The mission computers, the weapon system is made by us. So that is the most critical stuff in the world, especially with reference to what it can do. Mission, when you want to achieve a mission, how do you go about it? So you have to keep your mission also secure. The current trend is A to Z, as somebody mentioned earlier, of all the components that goes into a computer or to an interface device or imported. So how do we, of course, we sit and design everything put together, we make a thermal design, we make the system work as an integrated system using interfaces, etc. But then who is going to guarantee the cyber aspects of that? Now there are systems like this in hundreds of tanks, hundreds of ships and boats and aircraft that are flying today. So this is a real issue. It's not something that uh, uh, we can do an R&D on later. We have to solve it today. And hence, it is necessary for the cyber specialist to look at our existing systems. They may not be sounding hi-fi like your large language models. They're very good, of course. We don't use those things yet. By the time we use large language models in the defense sector, it might be, my grandson might be doing it. But currently the focus here is on that, if you look at it. So my request would be to look at practical problems. Like, for example, we talked about operating systems. We talked about Bharat OS. And then without probably learning lessons from Bharat OS, we are doing Maya OS. Okay? Now, it's extremely important to do a good OS. Because the OS is the one through which guys get into system. Okay? So we should take more effort towards that. More importantly, when you come to weapon systems, we are talking about embedded operating systems. We are talking about real-time operating systems. These things need to be developed totally indigenously, because any country, see, today we are a third world country, or the politicians won't accept, we'll say it second world or half first world, we'll say that. But we are importing everything, including the operating system. Tomorrow, if you are going to get into trouble with that guy who supplied that operating system through the supply chain mechanism or through embedded malware in that, he can activate, deactivate your problems. So it is very, very important for us to develop simple things. A real-time operating system is not a Nobel requirement. It can be done by a research institute or academic institute, but thoroughly verified. Like the last session was very important. One of the most important things that is we make systems, like he pointed out very correctly. Why did the Bharat OS did not survive? Because there is no support available for it. Because the guy who makes it is an academician or a researcher who has got his doctorate. And after that, what happens to the system? The system needs to sustain. And you can imagine the number of people working on Windows today. Maybe 1 million people are working. Whereas Maya OS, how many people are working? Maybe 100. So how will we sustain that? So in order to have a very good self-reliant, I won't even talk only about defense systems. As he pointed out, including critical infrastructure, right, your power generation, nuclear, railways, hospitals, everywhere, we need to have a common technology base in the country, which can come only through such efforts. That's for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bit of work together a couple of years back on securing the DNS, national DNS. But more specifically, can you tell us all about the work you do, the organization you work for, the work you do, and your own prognosis in this, Atmanirbhar Secure India, Digital India mission, the next 5 years? What are the three things that we probably need to do to make it happen, to get outcomes?
Thank you, sir. And of course, I'm glad to again meet you after a very long time. And I thank all the speakers in the DSA forum. So to just give a brief introduction about myself, I am Balaji from CDAC and work with Bangalore Center here. So we have been, I've been actually more than two decades with CDAC Bangalore, and we have been developing a lot of indigenous cyber security products and solutions. So of course, most of it is from enterprise side. And of course, Lakshmishwari madam is from there, from CDAC Hyderabad, and their solutions are from the largely from the end user side. From the cybersecurity enterprise side, we have been working from intrusion detection systems to application-aware firewalls to the application protocol level security also, where Dr. Das mentioned about DNS security. And of course, these are certain areas where our focus actually has been central. That is basically, there are a lot of niche spaces within cybersecurity which needs indigenous solutions. Whether it can be a simple thing like, which can be a simple solution like a DNS resolver, or it can be as complex version as an indigenous web browser. In fact, I just want to point you, I want to take this opportunity to state that with the support of MeitY, that is Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, we've been actually opened up a challenge for developing an indigenous web browser. So as a first thing, actually, of course, the challenge is open and it is spread over 1 year, and with multiple stages of support and incubation given to the people. With, of course, there are a lot of cash awards and prizes also. And there was a question, of course, from the other speakers that whether the sustainability of these solutions, of course, everything needs sustainability. And here, as far as this particular challenge of development of web browser is concerned, the winner is going to be sustained for over a period of 3 years with, of course, a significant amount of cash prize also from another agency which is called NIXI. So the one thing I just want to tell is that wherever there are niche spaces and where there are only solutions, even for example, a key management system. Today we are talking about digital private key and security key management system. I don't think the indigenous solutions which are available in this space are very less. So there are solutions, and we need to build capabilities and solutions, indigenous, there is no second thought about it. We may end up as one of the nth player, or maybe the second player or third player, that doesn't matter. We need to have solutions in place. That is number one point. Whether the solution is able to sustain itself or whether it is going to die off, that's secondary. That is actually, we need to have something. And of course, we can bring it up live. That experience actually can be brought up live at a different point of solution. Say, for example, today we have a strong zero trust aware solution. So that cannot come up without our capabilities, which we started building up 20 years back when we started developing our own indigenous intrusion detection system. So similarly, the technologies will also evolve, and we need to have people with the required skill set. And building such skill set cannot happen on a day one, meaning on a particular day. Actually, it needs to be developed and nurtured over a period of time, and then people progress to the next level of technologies. So this is my initial thoughts. I'd like to give it back to you, sir.
Before we wind up, we'll kind of be flexible on the format. And if there are any questions from the audience, see, I just want to leave one point here, and this is based on all the work that we have done. I've been both in the government and in the private sector. I think we still have not cracked that big problem, which is the most interesting problems in life are in the public sector. You know, government, health, welfare, they throw up the biggest problems at a scale of 140 crore people. Yeah, the capacities are largely lying in the private sector as Indian private sector has grown. How do these come together innovatively? I know some government ministries are trying to crack this problem, and I'm now in the private sector. I think we need to put a little more set of heads to it and come up with some interesting workable models. That is one. And two is, if you look at the budget, the last budget, and even later, I think the government is overstretched. I mean, there's only so much that the government can do. You know, the amount of money that they can put in, enabling capacities and so on. I think it's time for the private sector to now rise up. And Godse sir, the problem is in your bucket to excite the private industry to, chip in more. And some of it need not be in hard dollars. We have such a huge amount of talent. You pick up any GCC Global Capability Center, there are many in the range of 10 to 20,000 engineers working. taking 10 to 20% of their time aside for a national cause, I think we need to, handle this mission together. So if it's okay, ma'am, we can throw it open to the audience for any questions.
Along with the AI rush that's already happening. As someone pointed out, we don't have, we have both problems and solutions coming in AI front. We don't just have solutions. So the solutions are not, though we will have to use AI, solutions are not going to be coming directly from AI. My point is, in this network that we are creating, we already have the NCOE with Gorse sir and ma'am driving this. We have integrated some of our academia and research community into it. So we need a platform where, starting from awareness training to formal education to taking up consultancy projects and ending up in indigenous technology and system development, which is going to be a long term ahead. So this needs to be a well-visioned, comprehensive, long-term strategy. We need to sit together and found it now, and then we will, over a period of 3-4 years from now, we will be able to realize it. We want a concrete gathering of people who are committed for that 3 to 5 years, who can work together and make it happen. Probably this would be a good platform to request that. Thank you.
To late Mr. Vittal's playbook, on how we bootstrap this whole IT industry, there may be some answers coming out, because cybersecurity is going to fuel a lot of business. And we have kind of cracked this problem of scaling. One of the few countries that has done it. Potentially, we should see these centers springing up, and the great trust that India enjoys, even geopolitically today, is an enabler. To see virtually, socks of socks coming up to serve the rest of the world.
Right now we are sitting in the IT capital of India, Bangalore. We saw this city developing as a IT giant, right? But with the advent of this large language models and generative AI, I believe it will take away this strength that we have. Now with the advent of this GitHub Copilot and Microsoft Autopilot and all, lot of coding work which we show that it is our strength will be taken up by AI. So we are like encouraging that AI is going to change the world and all, but actually it will affect India, because this whole industry can go down. Security, yes, definitely it will increase, but IT, which we call as IT power of the world, is going to be affected very badly. So what are your views on that?
Since you talked about LLMs and things like that, intelligence is the ability to adapt to an context. And LLMs are particularly good in drilling down the number of parameters and finding the deeper correlations between the parameters and finding the similarities within that. But their strengths end there. Unfortunately, to our experiences, whatever it is, actually LLMs go and manufacture cases, stories, invent stories, or even invent papers, research publications, which does not exist in the forum, just to make themselves adapt to a given context. See, I put a context, and they try to manufacture to suit that particular context. So the one needs to, of course, find out the correctness in that particular information. And I don't think the verifiability or that correctness can be done without the support of the human being. At least I think an AI system, let us say, if it diagnoses something as this thing with 90% or 99% probability, but a human expert comes and says that this is the case with alternative thing or whatever he says, but 80% probability, I think people will go with the human beings. So rather than the system. So in that scenario, I think even though what I mean to say is the positive, I'm just trying to look at the positive viewpoint that humans are going to be more reliable than AI systems, however intelligent they may be. And humans can take certain inputs from this particular systems. But I think the entire job, whatever that is, the entire coding or whatever, I'm not sure. Of course, human beings can take help from systems. Even in our teams, we are witnessing the same. Some small amount of help actually is being taken by users and developers to take things. But even I'm not sure that it can happen in a full-fledged way. And even if it happens, the correctness and the traceability of that particular information, I think there are new avenues or new areas where the job potential is going to be created, or areas which are going to be opened up for the human users. This is my thought. Thank you.
Started. So UGC announced the syllabus curriculum for the UG and PG programs of cybersecurity. So now I think we academic institutions, we started adapting the curriculum as it is, whatever the Jagrata is. Actually in the October 2023, they are going to celebrate the Cyber Jagrata. So every institutions are asked to take part. Even the Kavach happened few months before. So a lot of that kind of the competitions or the events that we academics also we are participating. So I have just one question. Maybe it's a very layman question. Like how gold has been, they are putting the standards like BAS and things like that. Why don't these applications can be put by the government, even though when it has been given or get installed with the local devices without even knowing the vulnerability of those application usages.
In fact, I was trying to use this platform, especially with the DSCI, Dr. Godse, everybody around here. Last 10 years, I have been looking at the organizational structure of cybersecurity institutions in India. Actually, you won't see a pattern at all. I don't know by intention or not. In India, since I spent 40 years in government, I know how things come up. They grow up in silos. There are so many departments with right from PMO's office to DRDO's office to NTRO, you name it, there are silos. There are no labs or organizations that they coordinate everything together, especially when it comes to cyber hygiene, cyber standards, cyber, most importantly, the security evaluation of cyber systems. There is no single lab or single policy. For example, I was trying to see, I mentioned that we have a problem in developing system because the processors are imported. Many components are imported. So I was looking for a concept of the trusted platform module. Many of us know this. So I said, how do we go about implementing TPM in India? Really mind-boggling. I found that the TPM in the American systems is signed by the National Security Advisor of USA. That is the level, that is the organization that is required to maintain this kind of, because it's very, very secure. It has to be very secure. There is no question of compromising on security. So we need to build up this kind of organization structure. I think DSI is an extremely good platform because you are seeing government, you are seeing industry, you are seeing academia to do this. And give a very serious thought process to establishing that single signatory to this kind of applications. And then what you're saying will happen. We can definitely give a grading because giving grading is not very easy. As we can say, cybersecurity is embedded in design. And for you to, somebody to understand the design is not so easy. It is extremely difficult. 1 million lines of code, somebody has to go through and then finally say that. It's very difficult. But we can attempt. Thank you.
Quite enlightening discussion. So, since I come from the private sector, and glad to be part of this session, sir. I'm Geeta from EY. So, while I understand there is a lot of emphasis to kind of promote the niche products that have come even from NCOE and even MIT, there are new, very niche cybersecurity products that have come. Now, how are there any initiatives to make it kind of create an awareness to the industry segments, particularly into the private segments, to kind of understand them more, to create some roadshows, to create some awareness about those products? Because as you see, most of the product stack are from Western countries, right? So unless the kind of grading that you talked about, that is something which is very much needed for to create a kind of assurance, because again, serving to customers from that standpoint, to create that assurance about the kind of segments or even the regulated industries for which we'll have to use only certified products from that standpoint. What are the initiatives taken from the academy or from DSAI as well? Probably if that can be touched upon, it'll be helpful even for the industry segments.
You touched upon the node, that how we can certify the things and what are the methods and what are the practices in place. So in an academics, because we are here to learn and to actually provide the learnings, what being an academician we have taken in the domain. So actually this was the one of the initiative which actually taken by the IIT. We have started some online courses in cybersecurity and AI domain. So that uh, uh, what are the key technologies which are used by DRDO labs, and in what way they are actually working in, they are using the methodologies, and what are the new methodologies also that they are working on, that we actually dwelled with. And this online course in cybersecurity and artificial intelligence we proposed with the help of some of the practitioners of the domain, and even the scientists. They are sharing their experiences about the domain, and then the basic understanding about the domain. So this was the one thing, but definitely I cannot say that this is the kind of certification mode, but yes, this was one of the initiative which have been taken through you can say from DRDO headquarters initiative. This is one part which I came across in academia.
I think just adding to the question of Dr. Meenakshi Sundaram. So basically, vulnerability assessments of ready to host kind of certificates are being done, and there is certain empaneled agencies which do that. So that is one of the starting point which we can look at it, and for getting the different things created. But of course, if you are looking at it from a different perspective, like looking at the trustness or trustworthiness of an application or app, of course, trust score of websites, those are yet to come. I think the world is looking at that, and hopefully it will happen to the future. I think that is a pathway to the future. So I just want to add that. And just want to add to one question about the showcasing, madam. Showcasing of startups, I think Vinayak is here. So DSCI has been involving in that, and we have been, they have been doing it, and collaboratively also they have been doing along with several institutions, including CDAC. So this is one of the points which I'd like to add. Thank you. True, very much true. I agree.
For a BFSI sector, it is completely different. So the incentives and the motivation is what is lacking of the actions. So you talked about threat intelligence. how do you think we can have a common framework where, because you cannot sit in one R&D center and think about global threat, building a global threat intelligence, sitting in one organization. Right? You need to get the inputs and sensors we have to deploy across all the different kind of sectors and get that feed come to you, and then you build a threat intelligence. How can we have a common framework, and how DSCI can actually help in
This is, so uh, there are multiple questions, right, which had been asked. I'll start with the last question, right, and that's one of our worry. So our worry is commercial technologies out of this, right? Unless you have commercial technology deployed all across India and across the globe. So nowadays, all the security innovation, if you see, right, so there are a lot of those commercial company which has technology deployed across globe, and we are leverage on those capability, and they have set up these overall platform, global intelligence platform, while we leverage, for example, if I have Palo Alto firewall or Cisco firewall, I leverage from that, but at the same time, the experience get captured, and that feeds to global intelligence basically. And by seeing that, they find new use cases basically. So one of the key worry through which on this premises we thought about this national COE is whatever technology that we develop, CDAC has been developing a lot of organizations and academic institutions have been developing this capability. If those capability doesn't get deployed, so deployment gives you a lot of experiences, right? And that also tells you how your technology is working, and that deployment also brings back a lot of intelligence to you. And based on that, you find new use cases, new ideas, basically to build new solutions, basically. So making commercial technology available in different areas of security is a key challenge, basically. That's one of the important thing. And then every research that we have been doing or any technology that we have been inventing, so one implementation may not really serve this purpose, right? So you need to have multiple implementation of those technology and learn from that. So every product we have developed as a part of CDAC or any other thing, so this is a concept of platformization. So platformization is a very interesting concept, and security is now platformized security, where you leverage from capability available to you and you contribute back. And your being there helps others as well, because your experience feeds to global intelligence and other organization get benefit out of it. So your being there helps other being there helps you basically. And in that, then you find new use cases and you build new use case and new technology basically. How do we make sure that every technology we build uh, is going into commercial context basically, and there is commercial deployment of the technology happens, and then we learn from that basically. So in fact, I run these master classes for commercialization and productization of R&D, and this is one of the key driver. Technology, whatever we invent now, and that's what happened, right? In AI, they have been learning and learning, and now they have this planetary level kind of a model, LLM model basically, and now that's throwing a lot of answers to a lot of questions basically. So this is one of the important thing. But once this plan is over, I'll talk about overall thing what we as a DSC has been doing actually.
I just wanted to add just one thing for market share. It all begins with standards. And that is where I think we need to bring a little more heft and, presence. Because once the standards get in place, it's so difficult to influence the market. Markets tend to get aligned to the standards that are there.
So, recognize because I've changed my look. So once we meet, we'll recognize me. I'm Colonel Dinesh, sir. Meeting after a long time. Sir, you raised two issues. One is about the motivation and incentive for people who are into the field. I would vouch for my organization, that is Indian Army. We periodically conduct an exercise called Ran Kshetram. And in the month of March, we conducted one, Ran Kshetram, where we kept the prize for the winner as 23 lakhs rupees from the kitty which we had on Indian Army kitty. And guess who won it this time was a boy 10th class boy from Maharashtra, Nanded. He won that 23 lakhs rupee ticket. I don't think there can be a better incentive scheme for popularizing and pulling people towards this field. That's one. The second thing I want, he also raised a question about threat intelligence. How do you get the threat intelligence unless you have visibility across the entire networks? Uh, we are talking of this thing called DPI, right? I have been teaching cybersecurity. I'm a gray-haired veteran. I have been teaching cybersecurity for almost a decade and a half, and I frequently keep visiting CERT India and the NIC infrastructure, which runs the entire e-governance infrastructure, IT infrastructure, which is there. You'll be surprised. The room is as big as this, and the data wall starts from here, and it doesn't finish here. It turns like this, and you get the visibility, clear visibility across the entire national information infrastructure as to what is happening where. Not boosting, but just giving an information that we as a nation have progressed a lot in monitoring our things which are there. And I would request people to go and visit the CERT India. You can visit that. It's in the Scope complex over there, somewhere closer to the stadium. And the NIC infrastructure, you may, once you find a contact, you can visit. They welcome people who are involved in this. So I just wanted to inform the public about those initiatives which are already on the way. Thank you.
A write-up in some magazine, I forgot the name. They had given what is the interest of industry, various industries, IT industries sectors in technologies. They had compared deep learning, AI, generative AI, so on. And whereas it came to blockchain, it was shown that it is least interest. It is of least interest for industry. So I just wanted to ask all the industry experts, because previous speakers spoke about the role of blockchain in cybersecurity. So is it true that industry is reducing its interest in blockchain? How does it go? Where is it leading to? A name of the magazine.
You can give the mic to Lakshmishwari madam, because they are partnering and working on the national blockchain framework.
Yeah. Web 1.0, 2.0, and moving towards Web 3.0. See, we were giving something like internet of interaction. You are trying to access, you are involving in that and all. Now we are moving where we talk about internet of value, and you are owning your data. You are the owner of your this thing. I think this is something which is industry is very clear about implementing this, and the blockchain is the backbone of this kind of technology. See, but one thing at this point I would like to tell, there are various aspects with respect to blockchain. Like when you look at it, the evolution started with the cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. See, there is, see, if you look at the government perspective and all, see, if it is not going through the legal channel or through a regulatory agency, and it's definitely difficult for the country to see that how the movement is happening and all with respect to the financial aspects and all. So, but with the digital currency and all, central bank issued digital currency and all, people are able to identify solution with digital representation of the rupee and make sure that the fake currency and all can be detected. So that's how the government is looking in that angle. But at the same time, see, just like that, some agency want to use the crypto and build that the government or anyone cannot encourage. So what is that we have to look at is what kind of decentralization which we can enable through public blockchains, and we have a regulatory framework which we want to identify each citizen and its role in any of the process. That's clear. That's important for us. See, though the data protection, all those things are required, at the same time, anonymously, we don't want the things to happen. So, and there are some regulatory acts and other things. So we need to have systems which are as per that particular thing. We may bring some changes, but we need to take care of all these aspects. So what I feel is, see, there are permission systems, there is a public system, And we should think about building the POCs and pilots where they interact with each other with the fiat currency and asset tokenization. All these things can be done. But only thing is we have to do pilots, and once we gain confidence, we can build it. But definitely it is going to happen, okay, in the Web 3.0.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi ma'am. Because yeah, definitely blockchain. Cryptocurrency is one aspect, but then moving ahead towards blockchain. Blockchain is having so many use cases, and people are definitely coming forth for its adaptation as well. So for sure, industry is not refraining from it. In fact, in our NCO incentivization also, we're having some of the projects dedicatedly working towards leveraging blockchain for the benefit in various areas, whether it is IoT, security, or many more. So please, no, please, please. So with this, I think we have got to churn out a lot from this session and got to have a very remarkable kind of experiences being discussed. Definitely, it is required to have a hand-holding between all the three. The trio has to come together to stimulate each other for the success in cybersecurity. Now, a small token and a request for the sessions have been there. It's all going with a lot of churning of good information. Now I would request our CEO, Mr. Vinayak Godse, to please come on the dais and share a few words with our speakers, with our panelists, with our delegates. Thank you so much for sparing our time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarabjit and DSCI team and all the speakers join us today. So, so this best practice meet is a 15th best practice meet, right? And uh, we know DSCI is also completing 15th year today. So this is 15th year of DSCI. Yeah. And the history of DSCI started in 2008. We started early, and even before DSCI was formed, I think Bangalore community and JPM is here. So Bangalore community really contributed to one is setting up DSCI, and more importantly, seeing the way it is now in terms of the work DSCI has been doing in different area. So when we started, we were only 5 people. We almost now 80 plus now in DSCI. So then this particular topic is very important topic because what we started looking at is this probably around 2010-12 we started looking at the technology till the time that we set up and initial 4-5 days got in terms of helping organizations secure and looking at especially the technology company and now also the user companies, and most of the user companies key are becoming DSS corporate member. But then we realized that I remember some of those early interactions around 11, 12, so 15, 20 startups were there in the country, right? And those 15, 20 startups, and we met some of them, and then we realized that probably this is an area that we didn't really focus on, and we should look at the technology in cybersecurity. And then we started focusing our attention to security technology, product entrepreneurship in this country. And I'm really happy to tell here is around 300 plus startups now, which has a commercial product, and there are thousands of organizations doing security, but these are technology product companies, right? And but when we talk about security as a technology, right, it is a very intense deep tech. In the deep tech itself is a very complex area to work on, right? It's not easy to come out and have your security startup and grow the way other startups could go in India. And it's not easy to get even initial first angel investor as well. So I have one startup which we are just helping them for last 4 years, and he's building quite an interesting solution in application security. But getting that initial first angel investment took almost 4 years for us. An investor ecosystem in India, B2C is easy, but B2B and that to deep technology and that to cybersecurity is not that easy basically, right? You may solve the problem of early stage kind of a investment requirement, but once you reach to level, for example, there are many startups which got exit some time back. Once they reach to a level of valuation where 35 or $100 million valuation, because then that time you need another level of support from investments perspective. But what we are focusing now is to find a commercial client for this startup and commercial technology, right, in each of the area. I'll give you one recent example. So we know that some of the critical sector organizations contribute to development of the new technology, right? So we have been engaging with a lot of defense forces, and one of the technology we had been quite intensely looking at is the content disarmament and reconstruct basically, right? So it's going beyond malware protection where you need to still deliver the content if there is a malware, right? So you disarm the content, remove the malware and deliver the content, reconstruct and deliver it basically. So a couple of Israeli companies had been coming to India, they have been pushing meeting most of the defense organizations. So Navy gave me this challenge, can you find a player which can develop this basically, right? Then we got 3-4 commercial security companies who has capability in malware. And there's one company which is Madurai based again. So it's very interesting cases that we are saying. So they left their Silicon Valley job working in a technology company. They came and they set up something in Madurai. There's another company which is Aura, which is based out of here in Nagpur. So these guys were talking to me, they have a Meta. They were looking Meta cybersecurity, but they have very interesting product idea in data security. And they have been continuously talking to me in early 2020, can we really come back and set up here? So somehow I could influence them to come and set up. They set up and suddenly their product got quite a good traction and they got 18 crore of investment last month itself basically, right? So this company now with a just short span of 5 to 6 months time, they developed CDR and this defense organization actually put a purchase order to this company basically, right? So you need to really take one by one these cases and look at the area and develop, and that's why commercial technology, as I talked about, unless technology get deployed, you'll not understand how your technology work. You'll not get an understanding about how exactly it brings, what kind of things it brings back to you. And you need to generate revenue. Because getting investment in deep tech is very difficult. So unless you generate revenue, you're not able to really scale up basically, right? And that's why the effort that we are putting together is, can we look at creating commercial technology in each of the cybersecurity areas? And happily, at least even now, quantum computing, we have 8 to 9 startups now. And they're solving, we are working with some of the energy companies for that matter to solve some of the use cases which are very important use cases from some of this attack. You know that there is a harvest now and decrypt later, HLDL attack basically, right? So we are trying to help those solving those problems basically, because there are startups in those areas basically. So in each of the key areas now we have startup, but there are so many new areas. I was in one of the defense organizations yesterday only. So there is definitely one thing which always comes in mind when we talk about some of the critical sector organizations like defense, that initial days of technology, they all came from defense, right? Even internet came from defense, right? And the way it has come to us, way they have commercialized it. I had been going to this Baltimore cybersecurity cluster, which is a cluster in Washington, DC. So there is a cyber command, there is a NSA, there is a CI, and other side NIST basically, right? And then there are 500 plus companies at the time. You will be working with all of these agencies to find the use case and develop a technology out of it. Palantir, Code, FireEye, all of these big companies came out of such kind of effort basically. So this effort is very important effort in terms of ecosystem, right? And focus should be always to bring this commercial technology which can be implemented, which can be supported. And most of the research happen in the country are research happen but not supported. You talk about the operating system and the same line basically. So how do you do that, right? and do that in a scalable way is very important part. So fortunately, the ecosystem is good now. At least defense defense forces learn how to at least give grant. Purchase order is still the problem, but most of the defense unit has now innovation team basically. There is IDX, which is a defense innovation hub, and they realize that we need to give grant to at least develop technology. Once you develop technology, another challenge we have is how to sell that technology. How do we actually purchase order? It's still not easy. Getting purchase order is not easy in the cybersecurity technology area. Then we realized that in all this process, the research happening in academia lead to paper publication, some patent gets filed, and at the most implementation in 1 or 2 areas. This is true with a research institution as well, this is true with academia as well. Then we started, we need to, as a DSCI, focus our attention to this. So first thing we started creating is create a good visibility about research happening in the country. And there is almost 300 plus professors work that we now track. And every month that we try to revisit what are new paper published, and that is what a small tool also created as a part of that. So it's like we call this a cybersecurity research network. And because of that, we know now hardware security, there are 45 professors working. If I take cryptography, there are almost 130 professors working in cryptography basically. Out of that, for example, if you have to look at only homomorphic encryption professor, we know now who are those professors working in this area. One is to create a visibility of research. Then we realized that the government had been investing, but that's a big tech investment. And if you have to really, our attention was again commercial technology. So why don't we start looking at how the research work? Then we created a small fund with the help of the government investment plus some of the industries also coming ahead to contribute that fund. And we started investing, and we don't invest much, very small amount we invest, but we are happy. We made 30 investment. Out of this 9 to 8 investment, we could able to really productize it. And this month itself, we are able to now do this agreement signing between the companies. So for each of the investment we have been doing, we are trying to say we are finding a kind of a company to productize that research basically. So that is the effort, and that effort is very important. I was in IIIT a couple of months back, and I met all those researchers there. The kind of papers they are writing, algorithms they are writing, so they're saying this is there, but somebody has to work on them, right? Somebody has to develop technology out of it and sell it to the market. And that's why we created a kind of a R&D productization and commercialization kind of masterclass as well, because now what we are doing, this Art9 example I talked about, this Art9 example, we are actually coming to the level of actually signing agreement. So we also sat with lawyers, sat with the professors. We know now how professors and R&D institutions are explaining what they expect basically. And we also know how company looks at it, because company doesn't want to buy a capability and go away. So this TOT doesn't work. Company want the support. They want to engagement for 2-3 years of time basically. And we are actually coming to the agreement level. This is way it could support. And there are ways that we found, the royalty payment, the one-time payment, consulting charges, sharing the sales, or sharing the, or giving stake in the company. So 6-7 different ways that we found that this is where the engagement can happen basically. But we still believe whatever we started is still not that significant. We need to accelerate this basically, because we know we have been making big bet, right? So entire national the quantum mission is 6,000 crore project. So do we have, I wrote a paper for government and they already published it working with the CDAC. How can we bring ecosystem approach to quantum development? How can we bring ecosystem approach to all the semiconductor ecosystem we're talking about? So there's NRF is a good idea. NRF is this National Research Foundation. You must have I've seen that 50,000 crore rupees allocation of budget is talking about. So this actually giving money to private sector. So first time government is now opening up to give funds or investment to private sector, although it's not easy, I know, because we have been working with a lot of government. There are only 2-3 institutions which know how to give money to private sector. But now there is an inclination for that. But really, we need one by one, but at the same time, effort as a scalable. So it's very easy to say Swadeshi or Atmanirbhar, but anything that you develop for technology, if you don't implement it, if it doesn't get implemented thousands of the organization, not in India, other parts of the globe, that technology will definitely have a lot of problem in the future basically, because you are competing with somebody which has millions of implementation. So CrowdStrike, for that matter, has hundreds of billion endpoint implementation. So they know what is happening in every desktop all across globe basically. If you don't know what is happening, you will not able to understand the new use cases basically. So our key urge is, and you talk about threat intelligence, without you have those implementation, you will not get to know those data which can give you very intense intelligence basically. So how do you make sure that we we build this ecosystem so that commercial technology are there and commercial technology are sold in a commercial way and multiple installations are happening. Because now all the acquisitions happening in cybersecurity, one is capability, other is the business, but more importantly, they're happening to acquire the intelligence as well. And that's why platformization is very important. Every research we do, every product that we have, unless we platformize it, and always hundreds and thousands of people are using it, you're not able to understand from that. So that's the effort that we are putting through this research coordination work. So we say this as a research coordination role of National COE. So that's the effort that we are putting together. Currently, we have 30 IPs, and we are working with now government looking at different IP SIDAC develop, some other institutions are develop, and see whether we can have somebody to productize it basically. And when we productize it, it has to be commercially paid as well, commercially supported as well. So there is an entire master class that we develop, and a couple of organizations have run that master class. How do you think about productizing, commercializing the technology that you are developing? Without that framework, without those efforts, means ideally I would like to have hundreds of people working in the ACI just to pick up those critical capability and productize it. And productize it, not just productize UX, user management, the flow, the entire integration, interfaces basically. All of this that goes into productization, right? I funded one research in one of the university and they gave us a code. Such an important code, DNA cryptography code basically. We wanted, a defense application wanted to use it. But then this only algorithm, but that has to fit into the system, right? So I spent another effort with one of the technology companies to really make that code as an application in defense organization, basically. Similarly, there is one code which in one of the university I invested on this browser security. Somebody want to use it, but that was not in a state to somebody can easily implement it, basically. So this challenge of productization, commercialization has to be addressed, and that's the effort that we are putting together. And that's the area that we are also seeking industry partnership and some commitment as well. Some industries are even coming to give us a fund to work on this area. And next effort of DSA, you'll see more of this kind of thing, and that's why intent of setting up this summit is also so that we bring more academia closer to industry and industry closer to. So we are also going to premises, doing our, it's not only the showcase. So showcase wise, last 1 year we are gone right from different expos, be it telecom, be it defense, be it hardware association doing a kind of expo here. We had even gone to Bahrain, we had gone to even Dubai. So Dubai, JISEC, we have India Pavilion there. We did do India Pavilion in Bahrain as well. We have planned now go to one full roadshow in UK next week, next month basically. We are going to 3 different cities of UK. Next year we'll be going to almost 6 to 7 different cities of US as well. Because security technology has to be global in nature. And you have to find, and we find the Bahrain, the JISEC pavilion that we set up, 1 month's time we started getting order from the people there basically. So startups started getting purchase order from that basically. Whereas we struggle here in India with CISO, we struggle for 6 months. Discussions are happening, but doesn't come to the purchase order level basically. So all that needs to be changed. We definitely see a lot of changes happening in last 4 or 5 years of time, but more needs to be done. We have to all work together to make it happen. So we can't say Atmanirbhar unless until we create a market for technology, we develop it here. So development of market is very important here, and market has to be Indian plus global market as well. So this is what we try to achieve in this summit. There is another sub-summit happening. But tomorrow or the day you will also see there is a showcase of startup also tomorrow in the Corner Hotel that best practice meet happening. So there are a bunch of startup you will see, and that all the investment that we have to do from the ASA perspective. So that's the effort that we are putting together, but much more needs to be done in this area. So it's what I wanted to conclude with this summit. So with this, we can conclude, right? And join for the lunch, all of us, yeah.
Yeah, so I think enough of the knowledge deliberation was there, and the summing up remarks have already been given by our eminent CEO, Mr. Vinay Gotu, who has been there is a thought leadership, there is vision, there is force, there is impetus. Whatever we are able to do, it's all through Mr. Vinayak, our CEO. So a lot is required. We have to have hand in hand together. The ecosystem has to be nurtured. We have to have in our own individual capacity, the way we can cater to have better cybersecurity preparedness and resilience, along with the market, productization. So I think we'll all together be moving ahead. And there have been many areas you all could relate to, which we could churn out through the deliberations throughout our day, where we can better relate to churn out effective productization, cybersecurity efforts and endeavors. So with this, thank you all. And one group photo here. And lunch, please, it's a humble request, we all shall be there. Before leaving, we all must have lunch, please. But one, yeah. So please, let's have one group photo. There is this team of ours who have put work without whom the event could have not been a success. So first of all, I would like to call on a pulpit Ms. Niharika Singh. And she has been throughout for the significant support. So please. Please come, Prabhas. Rajitin. For him. Thank you so much, all the volunteer team, for this efforts. Without your contribution, the event could have not been a success. Thank you all.